the goddess pleaded with me. Please, save this world on the brink of destruction. The entire sky was dyed in the colors of the sunset, along with the goddess's desperate plea, so I gave it everything I had. Kong Hanbit walked forward with a vacant expression. Was the war finally over, and where were his other comrades? But Kong Hanbit's body couldn't hold on any longer. A significant amount of blood dripped onto the ground with every heavy step he took. His face darkened, and his gaze was dull and lifeless. He parted his lips but couldn't form a sentence. My body, it won't listen to me anymore. Kong Hanbit's body tipped backward. All he could see before him was a pale pink sky. So sleepy, he was exhausted and drifted into unconsciousness, just for a little while. But Kong Hanbit still tried to keep his will awake. Must sleep, he told himself as he closed his eyes. Just for a little while. While Kong Hanbit was unconscious, a cold, mechanical sound suddenly echoed in his ears, accompanied by a blinding light. Deaths. 31 times soul possession. 17 times reincarnation. 7 times total regressions. 55 times. Kong Hanbit opened his eyes in annoyance, frowned, and shouted softly, Damn it, I can't take this anymore. Just how many times has it been now? He thought angrily. This time it ended after suffering like a dog again. Kong Hanbit looked up when he heard the goddess's voice echoing. This one was quite long. He grimaced uncomfortably. Quite long, huh? The goddess's entire body radiated a faint halo, her voice maintaining an angry tone. Are you really one to say that? Kong Hanbit greeted her wearily. Goddess. The goddess stood high above and looked down, saying coldly, How about trying a change of pace by reincarnating after a long time this time? Kong Hanbit sat up angrily and shouted, Cut it out. Don't use that tone again. He stared straight into the goddess's emotionless eyes and silently judged. This emotionless entity, surprisingly, is called a goddess. The more he thought, the angrier he became. You were the one who called me to this place. No, to be precise, you kidnapped me. Kong Hanbit felt like a puppet for the goddess. Back at a time he could no longer even clearly remember, the goddess had kidnapped him to this place. He recalled the misfortunes he had suffered, and then suddenly she told him to find the airport to save the world. And just like that, she threw him into another world. And so, the hell began. The emotionless voice of the system repeated continuously, You have died. Every time his body was severely injured, that sound would ring out. You have died. That voice had haunted his mind for 55 regressions. Throughout that journey, he had tasted every type of death to the point where he couldn't even remember how he died anymore. In the end, he still hadn't found even the smallest clue as to what the airport actually was. Kong Hanbit angrily approached the goddess and criticized, Now I really can't do it anymore. Do you hear me? That so-called airport or whatever. From now on, go find it yourself. The goddess only responded in an emotionless voice. I cannot do that. If I do, this world will be destroyed. Kong Hanbit's face twisted, his voice trembling. Before that happens, my mental state will have already shattered. You damn goddess. The goddess turned her head and replied, That's strange. I confirmed that the mental therapy system is still operating normally. Kong Hanbit replied with a trembling, angry voice. It really is impossible to talk to you. Damn it, he thought about his own fate in this world, which was true. No matter how miserably he died, just returning to this place would completely heal both his body and soul. Those memories haunted Kong Hanbit, never letting go. However, the memory of the pain each time death was near remained vivid, slowly gnawing away at his mind. The memories of the pain accumulated over those 55 times had long since exceeded his capacity to bear. The goddess's emotionless voice continued to ring out. It's almost time to prepare for the next round. Do you still want to regress this time? These words made him lose his temper. Damn it. I already said I'm not doing it anymore. The goddess's reply drove Kong Hanbit insane. Biologically, this body is female, so the previous request is not feasible. Just when he seemed desperate, the goddess spoke. Just kidding. Kong Hanbit's pupils dilated in surprise. What was that? The goddess encouraged him. You have tried your best in the assigned role. You are fully qualified to return to your three-dimensional world. Kong Hanbit broke into a cold sweat. It's over? I've clearly failed to save the world 55 times. The goddess shook her head and replied, "This matter is more about the process than the result. You don't need to worry about it anymore." The goddess pointed at Kong Hanbit and continued, "Therefore, I will send you back immediately." Kong Hanbit confusedly stopped her, while his whole body emitted blue light. "Wait a minute! Slow down. Stop for a second. I still have many things I want to ask." The goddess coldly watched Kong Hanbit being pulled away by the light. "Thanks to you, I have been helped a lot. Everything you have accumulated will become a tremendous source of power." Kong Hanbit shouted in panic. "You only know how to talk about yourself and then chase me away? You crazy woman." The goddess stood high above watching Kong Hanbit being swallowed by the light and said, "In that place, I will also have high expectations for you." The scene shifted to reality. Kong Hanbit sat up inside, holding his face. "Oh, I feel so nauseous." He stepped off the bed, placed his hand on the doorknob, and thought to himself, 18 months. Kong Hanbit scratched his head and opened the door to step out. 18 months had passed since he returned to reality. He looked around the living room. Because he had gone through regressions, soul possessions, and time travel for so long, he had almost no memories of reality, but now they were gradually returning. Mom went to work already? He looked at the clothes in the laundry basket in annoyance. He didn't expect the day he was kidnapped by the goddess to be the very day before his enlistment. Kong Hanbit grimaced and sighed. Just like that, 18 months had passed and he had only been discharged yesterday. He poured water into a cup and frowned. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Kong Hanbit recalled his memories from his time in the military. If he counted the number of times he had to serve in the military throughout his regressions, soul possessions, and time travel, this was already the 6th time he had to serve. Of course, it was a bit different from the real military, but he still leaned back in his chair, tired, and looked at the ceiling. Adapting to modern life is so hard. It was all because of that damn goddess. He had prepared like crazy to get an internship, but he didn't know how long he would last. If he went back to school, he would first have to submit an application for early work. The future was just too bleak. The room sank into a heavy silence. Only the sound of a phone ringing continuously made Kong Hanbit annoyed enough to stand up. All right, I'm coming. I'm coming right now." He picked up the phone when he received a message. "Brother, let's keep partying today." Kong Hanbit sat down and replied with an annoyed attitude. "Drink in moderation. You lunatic, your brother is old and exhausted now." The person on the other end replied with a teasing attitude. "What's wrong? Is that all? Are you scared?" "Scared?" Kong Hanbit thought angrily. "This kid dares to provoke me again." He looked up and sighed. "Whatever, it doesn't matter. After all, Ju Yinwer was a precious younger brother who had taken care of him when he had just returned to reality, and then he was immediately sent off to the military." The other end of the line replied, "Anyway, the drinking part was just a joke. I have a discharge gift for you." Kong Hanbit replied with some surprise. "A discharge gift? Why give a gift so suddenly?" Ju Yinwer replied with a teasing attitude. "Oh my brother," answering so quickly as soon as gifts are mentioned. He paused and thought, a gift from this kid is worth looking forward to, isn't it? When Kong Hanbit arrived at the meeting point, Ju Yinwer waved excitedly. "Brother Hanbit, I'm here." He smiled brightly. "I already ordered food for you." Kong Hanbit assessed silently. "This kid is Ju Yinwer, my senior by 4 months in the military but 5 years younger than me." He sat down in the chair to start a conversation. "We partied so hard yesterday, yet it seems Yinwer is still clear-headed." Ju Yinwer nodded and replied, "I'm still young, not like you." Kong Hanbit asked while eating ice cream, "Anyway, what is the gift?" He acted a bit resentful. "You keep asking for the gift so quickly, it makes me feel sad." He picked up his bag coldly and turned to leave. "Today was fun. See you later." Ju Yinwer reached out, confused, and called out, "Wait, brother." He took out a card and handed it to Kong Hanbit. "You remember the game I told you about last time, right? It's the record project." Ju Yinwer grinned and tempted him. "This is a level 2 RP membership card. You can get the equipment to play RP right at home, and it's even a device capable of level 2 synchronization." Kong Hanbit stared blankly at the card in his hand. "This is the gift you're giving? Feel free to take it, don't be shy. Ju Yinwei winked mischievously. It costs about 500 million. But since it's for you, it's fine. Kang Hanbit was tempted by the card and sat back down. Do you need a security guard for the house? Just leave it to me. He laughed and replied, my house still has many empty rooms. Do you really want to move in? Kang Hanbit raised his hand to stop him. Just kidding. I found a job. I have to go to work starting tomorrow, so I probably won't be able to play games. You know how difficult my family's situation is. If I need to, I might even have to work a second job. Ju Yinwei's eyes lit up when this issue was mentioned. In short, the top priority is still making money, right? Kang Hanbit grinned and said, of course. Instead of spending time playing games, working part-time makes much more sense. He smiled brightly and replied, you really don't have a romantic bone in your body. Kang Hanbit angrily grabbed Ju Yinwei's hair and scratched it lightly. You kid, can romance be ground up and eaten? Can games support you? He screamed in fear. Ah? I already said all of it. Ju Yinwei begged painfully without stopping. RP can change your life. You can earn piles of money in a split second. Finally, he honestly confessed the number was up to billions. Really, brother? Kang Hanbit was shaken and stopped his hand. Billions? He let go of Ju Yinwei's head and rearranged his seat. Kang Hanbit sat down, propping his hand up to show a serious attitude. Please forgive my rudeness, Sergeant Ju Yinwei. I hope you can explain this in more detail. He wiped his sweat and opened his phone. Corporal Kang Hanbit, you accept that the developer who created Record is Team Zero, right? Sorry, from the beginning, I didn't understand what you were talking about. Ju Yinwei shoved his phone screen into his face. The will of Michael Welton, the founder of Team Zero, was just published a short while ago, and it caused a huge shock. He continued excitedly. He will transfer all ownership of RP to the first player to conquer it. This was already a super hot game worldwide, but after this will, it exploded even more violently. Thus the value of items in the game also skyrocketed. Kang Hanbit listened attentively to his presentation, especially the tips to beat the game. It seems people are shouting prices and people are still buying. Even top-tier large corporations are pouring billions into establishing professional farming teams to find ways to beat it. Kang Hanbit closed his eyes and listened to him rant. Of course, that doesn't mean individual players have no chance at all. He calculated silently. It wasn't anyone else. It was Michael Welton who set this condition. Kang Hanbit nodded and closed the deal immediately. All right, let's try it once and see. Ju Yinwei's eyes brightened with joy. Really, brother? Don't go back on your word, he shared excitedly. I've worked so hard to prepare for this, so let's try it. Kang Hanbit praised happily. You really are my brother. Ju Yinwei excitedly picked up his backpack. Then shall we go now? Kang Hanbit grimaced uncomfortably looking at him. Huh. The next morning at an event, Kang Hanbit stood in the crowd, looking annoyed. Hey Ju Yinwei, isn't it too crowded here? He smiled innocently. Compared to the US or Europe, this is nothing yet. Ju Yinwei excitedly grabbed his collar and pulled him. The place we need to go is this way. Kang Hanbit shouted confusedly. Why are you grabbing my collar? His eyes sparkled. First of all, we have to buy a guidebook for beginners. Kang Hanbit asked blankly. A guidebook? Can't we just go in and play? Ju Yinwei pulled Kang Hanbit to the bookshelf and took a book down. RP isn't a newbie-friendly game. He proudly handed the book to him and introduced. So there's a person named Adventurer A who wrote a separate guide for beginners. Without it, I probably would have given up halfway. This is advice from a senior. You must buy it. Kang Hanbit opened the book to look. All right. I know. Let me see the content before buying. His angry voice suddenly rang out. What the hell is this? Ju Yinwei's eyes widened in surprise. What's wrong? The goddess's emotionless voice suddenly rang in Kang Hanbit's ear. Didn't you say you were looking forward to it? He swallowed, his voice confused. Why is this here? He grimaced in anger and gritted his teeth. Said to find an airport. Inside Kang Hanbit's heart, there was always a lingering concern. For the past 2 years, there was always an unanswered question in his heart. I will wait for you there. What does that sentence really mean? And why did he accept letting me leave? Turns out everything has a root cause. He was distracted thinking and didn't hear Ju Yinwer calling, "Brother Hanbit? What's wrong?" Kong Hanbit was still deep in his own thoughts. From the very beginning, he never intended to let me go. Ju Yinwer shouted, "Brother Hanbit." He was startled back to reality. Yinwer ran over worriedly and asked, "Why do you look so stressed? Do you find this too difficult?" Kong Hanbit shook his head confusedly. "That's not it. I have something I want to ask you." He pointed to the book in his hand and asked, "Do you have any information about the group called Team Zero?" He spoke softly and explained, "Perhaps everyone has heard their name, but no one knows the details about them. All external activities are handled by the current representative of Team Zero. It seems to be Michael Welton's youngest daughter. Both the development team scale and information about members are kept strictly secret." Kong Hanbit rubbed his chin, deep in thought. How suspicious. Could this organization have any connection to that goddess? But why is the ultimate goal a game? He frowned, trying to think. Why? Kong Hanbit closed his eyes as the old memories flooded back. His appearance kneeling on the ground. Behind him the ashes of a fierce battle appeared in his head. The world he was pushed to was not an ordinary game. At least, he angrily picked up his sword and slashed wildly. The disgust when he first took someone else's life with his own hands. His whole body fell to the ground with blood flowing. The two feelings of extreme terror in the first time experiencing death. During these times, the goddess's emotionless voice rang out, "So it's a failure." He thought angrily. The despair of having to repeat that life endlessly was still vivid in his mind. Kong Hanbit could not help but doubt his own decision. Is he going in the right direction when he actively returns to the place that could be hell? No, who knows, maybe this time I can put an end to all this suffering. Returning to reality, he picked up the bank card and said, "You said to use this to receive the gaming equipment, right? How long will it take to receive the goods?" Ju Yinwer put the phone into Kong Hanbit's hand. "Probably about 2 hours. These days delivery is very fast. Give me your phone. I'll install the necessary apps for you." He ran over, touched his stiff body and continued, "By the way, you should buy a new book. This one is all tattered." The two left the shopping center when the sky was dyed the color of sunset. Ju Yinwer waved and left first. "I'll enter the game first. When you finish creating the account, report to me immediately. I'll be waiting for you, brother." Kong Hanbit raised his hand to wave goodbye. "I'll try to get in as soon as possible," he thought confusedly. "Even if I rush home, the equipment probably hasn't arrived yet." Kong Hanbit just returned and saw a package placed right in front of the door. "Oh look, it's here." He bent down to pick up the package and brought it into the house. A gaming machine worth 500 million? Very quickly, Kong Hanbit finished unboxing and put the items on the bed. He curiously picked up each item to examine. Kong Hanbit got off the bed and locked the door. There was still a little time before his mother came home. First, he put the bracelet on his wrist and tried to check it out. The machine was worn on Kong Hanbit's body. He lay down snugly on the bed and stepped into the game space. The system's mechanical sound rang out. Conducting biometric scan, analyzing brainwaves connection, successful character created, starting appearance customization process. Kong Hanbit looked around blankly. It felt much more realistic than he imagined. Perhaps due to the device worn, his limbs felt a bit heavy. He looked at his body excitedly. "I heard you can freely adjust your appearance. I'll adjust it a bit." "But why isn't the setting window appearing? Is it a game bug?" They said it was a hot game, but the execution seems a bit sloppy. Very quickly, Kong Hanbit became serious again and looked at the screen in front of him. "Forget it. A restart should be fine. Is this the exit button?" He didn't hesitate to press it. The system suddenly switched to a red alert. Character creation unsuccessful. Kong Hanbit shouted in panic. "Wait a second. Is this my virtual character? Goddess, this is also your doing, isn't it?" No matter how panicked he was, the system still ran. In a split second, Kong Hanbit's whole body was equipped with a new outfit. He opened his eyes and saw the image of seagulls flying in the sky. Below was the golden sand beach and the white foaming waves of the sea. The place Kong Hanbit was transferred to was the port city of Edlin. He stood on the ship looking into the city. It had been a long time since he returned here. Only now did Kong Hanbit see his own face through the glass of the nearby window. He was stunned with surprise to see himself looking too handsome. What is this? Kong Hanbit touched his face blankly. His appearance looked exactly the same as the last regression. Suddenly, a streak of blood appeared on his face. Could this be the goddess's hidden message? Kong Hanbit stared in shock at the bloodstains on his hands, realizing that everything would have to start from the beginning. He stared angrily at his trembling hands. The system suddenly sounded a notification. From Loper? Brother, let's be friends. A friend, please. Brother? Hey, Sergeant Kong. Answer the phone. Sir. Kong Hanbit's eyes widened in surprise when he saw this name. He held his head in annoyance and muttered, Loper is Yinwa's nickname, right? Where do I press to add a friend? Zhu Yinwa's voice suddenly rang out. Brother! He ran over excitedly to greet him. I told you to report to me immediately when you logged in. Kong Hanbit asked blankly. Is that Yinwa? Oh, it's really me. Zhu Yinwa blinked blankly, thinking about something. He approached him closely and teased. Why did you keep the character appearance like that? Hardly anyone keeps their real-life appearance in the game. Well, it was just a coincidence. Kong Hanbit laughed awkwardly. Zhu Yinwa opened his eyes excitedly and asked, What about the character name? He replied with an emotionless voice. Character name? What is my name? He smiled brightly. You said it yourself, yet you don't know? Click on the character information section here. Kong Hanbit's finger paused when he saw his name in the game. While Zhu Yinwa laughed, finding it funny, his face twisted in annoyance. Kong Hanbit angrily grabbed Zhu Yinwa's hair. This name wasn't set by me. Find a way to change it. He couldn't stop laughing. Didn't you read the warning carefully when creating the character? This nickname is carved into the biometric data, so it can never be changed. He shouted in hatred and anger. Really? I'm going crazy. Zhu Yinwa still laughed loudly. My stomach hurts. I'm dying of laughter. Kong Hanbit angrily wanted to put him in a headlock. Stop laughing at others, you kid. Zhu Yinwa screamed painfully. Stop, stop, brother. Check the notification first. He frowned in annoyance when he saw the notification in front of him. What notification? Kong Hanbit read the content on the screen seriously. What is this? You're even live streaming. Your game screen will be live streamed on Loper's channel. Do you agree? Zhu Yinwa ran over and pressed accept. The viewership isn't high yet, but I do it consistently. RP supports its own streaming platform called Recorder. It feels great to play the game and chat live at the same time, man. He raised his voice to ask, Is this how you said we could make money? Why would I even live stream? He waved his hand and smiled, saying, Don't feel too pressured. I'll handle the hosting, you just focus on playing. We'll split the profits 50-50. If the channel grows later on, I'm happy to let you take a bigger cut. Kong Hanbit gave Zhu Yinwa an annoyed look. He crossed his arms, gritted his teeth and looked away. Fine. I guess there's no other way for now. So if we make 1,000, I get 500, right? He nonchalantly threw his arm around Kong Hanbit's neck. Just trust me this once and see how it goes. Zhu Yinwa pulled him along to start the live stream. Hello, everyone. I'm Loper. Joining me today is the big boss, Black Dragon. Soon, we'll be bringing you even more exciting content. He smiled happily as he watched the comments scrolling past. Welcome the new member. That character name is truly speechless. Kong Hanbit grimaced irritably as he read the comments on the screen. These guys must be suffering from late-onset puberty, typical of these immature brats with zero aesthetic taste. With a low level like this, how can you call yourself a dragon? Zhu Yinwa reminded him in a low voice. Calm down, man. The angrier you get, the more they'll tease you. Did you forget our main goal is to make money? Kong Hanbit whispered back. They're clearly just trying to piss people off on purpose. Zhu Yinwa's eyes grew round and sparkly as he murmured, Boss, please just bear with me. What should you do next? Zhu Yinwa raised his voice to explain the rules of this world. Since you're new, first take a look at the suggested skills. The system will scan the player's information and recommend about 3 of the most suitable skills. Kong Hanbit crossed his arms and nodded as he listened and pondered. He had accumulated many moves throughout 55 regressions. It would be great if those moves could be recreated as skills here. He pressed the floating card in front of him. Zhu Yinhua looked excitedly at the card Kong Hanbit had just pressed. You checked it already? I'm curious to see what you got too. Both of them stared in shock as a blinding light appeared before their eyes. A chaotic jumble of cards suddenly appeared in midair. Both of them looked at the scene before them in utter confusion. Brother, what's the result? Is it that serious? The viewers were also confused by the scene. What on earth is this? The cards suddenly flipped over in front of them at a breakneck speed. Zhu Yinhua and Kong Hanbit stared wide-eyed, looking up at them in surprise as the comments flooded in. Zhu Yinhua widened his eyes and raised his voice. Hey man, how did you manage to do that? Everyone responded in stun. Why is everyone turning around to question me about that? Zhu Yinhua opened his eyes wide in shock. He stammered in confusion. This is actually... Kong Hanbit raised his voice to ask, is something happening? Why do you all look so strange? Zhu Yinhua awkwardly took a deep breath. He widened his eyes and clenched his fists. A hidden skill. That's definitely a hidden skill. Zhu Yinhua cheered excitedly. This is amazing. And it looks like there isn't just one or two. The viewers were stunned and amazed. This is insane. What a damn bug. But is getting hidden items that profitable? Only a noob would ask that. A comment popped up asking, what's the drop rate for this? Kong Hanbit fixed his eyes on the cards before him. Even so, it was only considered a suggestion. His eyes sparkled. This wasn't just a suggestion. There were too many symbols he had never seen before. Guys, do you see this? Truly top tier, right? While Zhu Yinhua danced behind his back, Kong Hanbit focused on thinking about these cards. I can understand the meaning of all of them. He didn't hesitate to press a card. A start like this isn't bad at all. He thought to himself, I must use these as a stepping stone to advance. From that growth, I will find the difference between the world I once knew and this place, as well as what the goddess's true intentions are. I'll start with fire magic, since it's the most basic element. Thinking this, Hanbit turned to ask, Yinhua, do you know where to pick up quests? Yinhua turned to look at Hanbit's system screen and asked back, are you planning to go down the magic path? The protagonist glanced at him. What's wrong? Is it not good? As soon as the words left his mouth, a series of comments slammed into his face. Black dragon seeking romance through magic? Sounds cool. Magic my foot, ha ha ha. These comments made Hanbit furious. What's wrong with them? Is magic really that much of a piece of trash? At this point, his younger buddy Yinhua scratched his head and explained, well, you see, the most important thing in this game is proficiency. Compared to other skills, it's extremely difficult to increase proficiency in magic. A star icon will appear when you train your proficiency to the max. But until then, you can't even check how much you've accumulated. To these words, the protagonist naturally understood. I remember that very well. Obviously, to achieve something, you always need both talent and effort. Among them, magic is a subject with particularly high difficulty. That's why choosing a master to learn from becomes more important than ever. After thinking, he continued to ask, who is the master? I have the right to choose for myself, right? I have to learn magic, so surely someone will teach me. His naive question annoyed the viewers. What's with this guy? Is he planning to take a written exam? Seeing the atmosphere start to sour, Yinhua quickly ran over to mediate. Calm down. My brother doesn't know much about games. Yinhua began to explain more clearly. You'll receive a book that allows you to learn skills as soon as you complete quests and achievements. Even though the NPC's AI is very high, it hasn't reached the level where they can personally pass down skills to you yet. Hanbit pricked up his ears, slightly surprised by this information. Skill books in this world have become much more convenient, haven't they? In Hanbit's mind, a different memory began to surface. The moment he was trembling and pleading, Master, can we stop here for today? The female master immediately snapped. Stop complaining. Get up right now. There's still a mountain of things to learn. After finishing his thought, Hanbit urged, let's go quickly. We're going to the general store, right? Yinhua was a bit surprised and turned back. How did you know that? You can buy magic books from Julio, the owner of that general store. For some reason, as soon as he heard that name, the protagonist's face changed. Julio? That ugly old scammer. You're planning to find him? For what? Yanhwa shrugged and replied, because I need to get that magic book. Hanbit hurried to advise his younger buddy. That guy is a total villain. All that magic book business is a scam. Right then, a viewer named Julio suddenly donated 1,001 to Yanhwa, making the guy ecstatic. Oh my god! Thank you, Julio, for the 1,001 donation. Hanbit saw this and glanced over. Did money just fly into the account? Yanhwa happily replied, there is a fee, but you'll earn about 501 too, brother. Hearing about money, Hanbit's eyes lit up immediately. Kong Hanbit turned back to ask him, but to you, is 1,001 even considered money? Ju Yanhwa crossed his arms and said leisurely, even if it's a small amount, in business, things must be clear. He cleared his throat and analyzed seriously. It's small, but to me, 1,001 is extremely precious. If you and I both fell into the water, I would definitely save that bill first. Ju Yanhwa struggled in protest. Saying that is just too much. Ju Yanhwa calmed down and looked at the screen. Anyway, this fire magic needs to be brought to Black Dragon. He was about to leave but saw Kong Hanbit still standing there dazed. So he called out, hurry up. Why are you just standing there blankly? He replied to Ju Yanhwa with a question. I think I need to find a magic master. Do you know this person? The screen in front of Kong Hanbit showed an image of a small girl. He stared wide-eyed at his system screen. Kong Hanbit put his hands on his hips and said, to learn magic? Don't I need an instructor? Ju Yanhwa whispered softly. That script isn't bad, but if you overdo it, I'm afraid you'll get cursed at. Kong Hanbit frowned and asserted, this is absolutely not acting or anything. He recalled the information he knew. I don't know where you read that, but to gamers, Etsubel is just an NPC for a quest. Ju Yanhwa was certain that a scamming thief NPC would never appear again after being caught. Even though the character design was quite pretty and many people requested an individual storyline for her. He sighed tiredly and turned to walk away. All right, let's just prove it with actual results. Let's go find Etsubel. Kong Hanbit stood still, looking at the comments in front of him. The idea was good, but he was starting to feel annoyed. You said you were a newbie, so why are you so conservative? So incredibly stubborn. He raised his voice and decided, fine, then we'll go to Julio's place first. Let's just try following the path everyone is talking about. The comments continued to scroll. He's actually accepting opinions. If that old man really is a scammer, I'm betting 10,001 right here. If he isn't a scammer, you have to do a sexy dance. Let's go. Damn it. Why do I have to witness that scene? Kong Hanbit immediately decided, let's go, that's settled. He blushed uncomfortably, remembering his own dancing. I can do that sexy dance anytime. Back in the military, I danced all the time. The viewers one by one showed their disdain. Who wants to see that? Truly a case of the ego exceeding the ability. Who was the one who came up with that sexy dance idea? Kong Hanbit calmed down, turned around and urged, anyway, let's go, follow me. He looked confusedly at the direction Hanbit was going. Why are you going that way? Kong Hanbit turned his head back and answered, I'm taking a shortcut to make it faster. Ju Yanhwa innocently ran after him. Hey, how do you know this path? Isn't this your first time? He replied in a lazy tone. It's just a gut feeling. Very quickly, the two of them stood in front of Julio's shop. Everyone, we've arrived. He looked inside and saw Julio's groveling appearance. A thought flashed through Kong Hanbit's mind. His hands shook with anger. Images of his previous life flashed by, and troublesome memories began to flood back. Kong Hanbit raised his voice to ask, what's the limit for interacting with NPCs? He stood nearby and explained, the freedom here is so high that finding what you can't do is faster. It's so high that it sometimes clogs up the game progress. Kong Hanbit got angry upon hearing the voice of the person beside him. He marched aggressively into the shop. He used a strong force to swing the door open. The entire space around Kong Hanbit was plunged into tension. The atmosphere at Julio's place was sparkling and bright, along with a fawning voice. "Welcome, valued customer." He suddenly grabbed the man tightly by the collar. Kong Hanbit growled in interrogation. "Even in this place, you're still living like that?" He grimaced with rage at Julio's bewildered look. "You beyond saving piece of trash." Ju Yinwu pushed the door wide open, staring in shock at Kong Hanbit's back. His face paled. He put his hand to his mouth and let out a terrified scream. "Unbelievable! Big Brother Black Dragon is actually doing it." Kong Hanbit emitted a cold, killing intent, glaring at the man beneath him with contempt. Julio was sweating profusely as his collar was gripped tightly by the opponent. "What? How can a customer say such things? Didn't you come here to buy skill books? First of all, if possible, please let go of me." Kong Hanbit gave him a sharp glare, making the atmosphere extremely tense. He decisively let go and stood up straight after the intimidation. Julio put his hand on his chest, explaining the incident that just occurred. "However, that magic book just now was the last one I had. I sincerely apologize for this inconvenience." He narrowed his eyes calculatingly, flashing a sly smile as he made an offer. "Perhaps it won't compensate you much, but I can refer you to another shop." Julio clasped his hands grovelingly, bowing low to negotiate. "On the condition that you help me with a small favor first." He reached into his pocket and rummaged around under Kong Hanbit's scrutinizing gaze. "A thief snuck in here while I was napping." He held up a shimmering orange necklace and stated, "As far as I can see, this looks like a trick from a competitor." His eyes narrowed cunningly as he stared at Kong Hanbit. "Would you be willing to go catch her with me?" A quest board appeared with attractive rewards. New quest. Ulrio's coin pouch has been taken. Use the clues found to catch the culprit. Apprehend the general store owner Ulrio. Reward. 100 gold plus recommendation letter to buy tier 1 or common fireball magic book plus 50 experience points. No time limit. Kong Hanbit remained calm before the confusing proposal. He dares to use those blatant words to form a quest? He remembered when Etsubel smiled brightly and enthusiastically taught him magic. She was actually his true teacher and benefactor. Yet, just because he was a student under her, he was framed and had to go to prison in his first playthrough. Kong Hanbit recalled the time he knelt in despair in the dark dungeon, listening to the humiliating words, "You're just a hunting dog for Etsubel. I guess you didn't learn anything from that woman except how to steal." Julio stood regally above him, looking down with a look of contempt. All excuses were useless before the guards who had taken bribes and the forged evidence. Kong Hanbit snapped his head back, seriously questioning. "You said I would receive a magic book if I complete this quest chain. Correct. What will happen to that thief?" Ju Yinwu answered the question with wide, bewildered eyes. "Once in prison, she will never have a chance to see the sun again." Kong Hanbit stood still, trying to restrain his rage. "Etsubel will also have to bear joint responsibility for your sins. As for the future of this shop, isn't it already obvious?" He clenched his hands into fists in extreme anger. Julio flashed a fake smile, eyes narrowing as he issued an invitation. "Well then, dear customer, what have you decided?" He looked triumphant, clapping his hands together as he gave the order, "Hurry up and catch the criminal." Ju Yinwu was shocked by Kong Hanbit's impulsive action. "Man, what the hell are you doing? If you wreck the shop like that..." Julio panicked as he saw Kong Hanbit rummaging through the goods. "Oh my god! Customer!" The comments were also extremely stunned. "He's definitely attracted all the aggro now. Is he planning to charge straight in?" Kong Hanbit reached his hand forward, preparing to seize a bag of valuable items. "Shut your filthy mouth, you damn scammer." He calmly held up the spoils of war, throwing a cold look at the opponent. "Didn't you say out of your own mouth that you were robbed?" Quest to apprehend the scammer Ulrio. Reward. 500 gold. Julio gritted his teeth, directing a gaze of hatred toward Kong Hanbit. Comments filled with confusion scrolled past. "Wait, so it really was a scam? Did this really just happen? Let's see some lightning-fast drama." The man's face turned bright red with rage as he let out a judgment. "You're quite a sharp one." Before Julio could finish, he was met with a powerful kick to the face from Kong Hanbit. "I have nothing to sell to someone like you." Before the words could finish, this fat pig took a whole hit to the face. He nonchalantly maintained his stance. Julio's entire body slumped into a corner filled with wooden crates. Zhu Yinwu covered his mouth, unable to believe Kong Hanbit's actions. A soldier marched through the door. "What is going on over there?" Kong Hanbit looked at him calmly. "It's all over." Kong Hanbit's face took on a thoughtful expression as he lightly closed his eyes. A cutscene appeared. Julio's hands were tied tightly with rope as he sobbed and wailed. "I really didn't do anything wrong." Kong Hanbit watched indifferently as the man was led away by the soldiers. Julio reached out to grab the iron bars, his mouth wide open in despair. Kong Hanbit watched him with a cold gaze. He suddenly remembered the time he stood his ground while surrounded by many spears. Things were definitely different from back then. Perhaps this was the difference between a game and a true parallel world. In that place, he had to overcome corrupt guards to hand Julio over to someone trustworthy. After that, Kong Hanbit rested his hands on his knees and breathed a sigh of relief. He glanced over at the system board. The screen appeared with a series of notifications. "Quest complete. The next quest will be unlocked when you move to the general store. Rewards have been granted. 500 gold. Kong Hanbit began to sink into thought. Everything happened as if it had been prearranged for this turning point. Can I really consider this just a mere coincidence? At this moment, Zhu Yinwu widened his eyes and shouted in his face in shock. "Brother! Boss!" His eyebrows twitched repeatedly as he raised a doubt. "What is this? How did you know beforehand?" Kong Hanbit broke into a cold sweat, not knowing how to explain. "Damn it. What should I say now to get out of this situation?" He rubbed his chin with his hand in reflection. "Even if I tell the truth, he won't believe me, so I'll just make something up for now." Not long after, Kong Hanbit turned his face away, smiled confidently, and explained, "Oh, it's just, I'm a huge fan of these types of fantasy novels. The plot so far is identical to an old out-of-print book I read a long time ago, so I just took a guess. Maybe the author of that book is the scriptwriter for this game. It's strangely similar." Zhu Yinwu clapped his hands in agreement with his words, without a shred of doubt. "Ah, so you're a total bookworm? No wonder." Kong Hanbit's mouth twisted, feeling lucky deep down. He actually believes it? Good thing I spent all my time in the military rambling about fantasy stories. Suddenly, the icon shaped like him rang out. Anonymous donor supported 10,001. Zhu Yinwu grinned from ear to ear, putting on an enthusiastic display of gratitude. "Thanks for the 10,001 support. My friend is amazing, right? He has great suspicious instincts and deduction skills. Look at that fire punch. Even if Ulryo wasn't the culprit, he would have forced him to confess anyway." Comments appeared one by one. "Anyway, he's proven it. Congrats. I'll never speak ill of you again. By the way, his face looked like a criminal's anyway." Kong Hanbit put his hands behind his back and wondered, "Are live streams usually like this?" His eyes turned toward Zhu Yinwu, contemplating. "Well, I'll just let Loper handle things. I'll just focus on what I'm good at." Outside, soft sunlight spread across the clear sky. "If we go this way, we'll find the shop, right?" Zhu Yinwu walked with his hands behind his head and shared. "I really had no idea. I didn't expect Tsubal to be such a linked NPC. The forums today are definitely going to explode." Kong Hanbit called back calmly. "Didn't they say that if she's caught, she'll disappear from the map forever?" He paused, lost in his own silence, thinking that just as he had imprisoned her, others surely must have done the same to Tsubal. It was unexpected that such an important NPC would be treated like a petty thief by most players. And if Tsubal knew about this, she would surely be devastated by such injustice. He thought firmly, as the image of Tsubal flashed in his mind. "Work? Why are you coming to me to ask about that? Get out of my sight." She stood there with her hands on her hips and continued impatiently. "If you're already here, don't just stand there like a statue. At least help move the cargo. Don't dream of freeloading here." Tsubal stood up abruptly and turned to leave. "Hey, look at yourself. What on earth have you been doing? I told you to be careful." If you get hurt, you're the one who suffers. She handed him a red book embedded with a bright red stone and requested, take advantage of your free time to study magic. Do you plan to spend your whole life just lugging cargo crates around? Afterwards, Etsubel lapsed into silence, facing the cold iron bars of the cell. She stood still and ordered in a serious tone, hold your head up high. Ju Yin smiled gently to reassure him. I know for a fact that it wasn't your fault. Understand? Stop talking nonsense and just wait there. Because I'm never going to let that lowly bastard get away with this. Kong Hanbit watched the prison cell being swallowed by flames, thinking that after saying those words, she was ultimately burned to death. He gripped the door handle tightly, feeling that this was a memory both precious and painful to him. Kong Hanbit said nothing, his expression deeply thoughtful. A moment later, he gently pushed the door open. Kong Hanbit was stunned, unable to believe his own eyes. Inside the house sat Etsubel, looking bored as she rested her chin on her hand. She glanced toward the source of the noise, looking puzzled to see Kong Hanbit standing in front of her. What do you want? I've never seen your face before. She leaned forward and asked curiously, did you come looking for me because you already know who I am? Kong Hanbit smiled gently, his tone teasing. You can tell just by looking that I'm a newbie, so this is definitely our first time meeting, right? I came here because I genuinely want to learn magic from you. Etsubel slowly approached him. Magic? Learn it from me. She stood there looking straight into Kong Hanbit's eyes. You're an interesting guy. But why should I teach someone I just met? The corner of his mouth curved up calculatingly as he thought. I knew for sure she would refuse, but I had already prepared solutions thanks to what happened earlier. Etsubel observed Kong Hanbit closely and hesitated. Huh, wait a minute you. She pointed at Kong Hanbit and voiced her guess. Ah, I recognize you now. You must be Black Dragon, right? In front of Etsubel, Kong Hanbit nodded and explained. That's right. That old man Julio clearly intended to frame you as a thief. She regained her calm composure and smiled helplessly. Good grief, what a total piece of trash. I knew sooner or later that old man would cause trouble. Etsubel closed her eyes slightly, reached up to brush her hair, and expressed her gratitude. Anyway, I have to thank you. She happily extended her hand toward Kong Hanbit and continued. If it weren't for you, I would have been stuck in a terrible mess. He took Etsubel's hand and replied politely, don't mention it. I don't like that guy either. As she leaned closer to Kong Hanbit, she whispered, I mean, just looking at his face is enough to know that. Who would ever trust someone like him? Kong Hanbit completely agreed with Etsubel's words, as the word scammer was practically written all over his face. Etsubel briefly regained her serious demeanor and leaned on the table to probe. So, you said you were looking for a magic book? But first, let's hold off on that for a second. She raised an eyebrow, her face showing confusion. Kong Hanbit crossed his arms and calmly asked, are you really looking for a cure for an illness? Etsubel was bewildered and hesitated to probe. How did you know about that? He turned his eyes toward the papers on the table and answered, just looking at the things on your table is enough to understand. Etsubel was stunned by Kong Hanbit's deduction. I'll give you a hand. Her whole body seemed to deflate as she bit her lip. Etsubel looked straight into Kong Hanbit's eyes and asked, do you really know that much about medicine? He answered confidently, I know it very well, actually. Etsubel responded with a hint of sarcasm at Kong Hanbit's firm stance. Quite confident, aren't you? All right then. Suddenly, an image of her own strange eyes flashed through her mind. Do you know of any illness that causes the pupils to turn blue, accompanied by dizziness and vomiting? Kong Hanbit answered frankly, I don't know the exact name of that illness. He thought to himself, I guessed it would be like this. Etsubel's whole body trembled, her hands clenched tight, filled with rage. Do you have any idea how many times I've been deceived? She imagined herself being grabbed by countless strange hands. Those people who called themselves experts were all the same, and she had wasted so much time and money on their misdiagnoses just to line their pockets. Etsubel's eyes shimmered with deep disappointment. I can't even remember how many times hope has turned into poison. Suddenly, Kong Hanbit spoke up, cutting through her train of thought. Recovery potions and healing magic have absolutely no effect, right? And the patient themselves doesn't even feel hungry. Subal agitatedly reached out with trembling hands toward him. Do you actually know what kind of horrific disease this is? Kong Hanbit held her arm and informed her. It doesn't have a specific name. I simply know how to cure it. Subal gripped his shirt and shouted in surprise. What? You actually hold the method to cure it? She looked at Kong Hanbit with pitiful eyes and pleaded. Please, I beg you to save me. I will definitely reward you most handsomely. He smiled gently and affirmed. Trust me. I will definitely bring back the medicine for you. Suddenly, the system menu appeared. Quest. You have discovered Subal's secret concerns. Find a way to cure the illness her mother is suffering from. Objective. Collect the correct medicine in the area around Edlin. Reward. 2,000 gold. Subal's hero grade fireball spellbook. 3 stat points. 500 experience. Lines of comments filled with surprise scrolled by. Hero grade? Seriously? Guaranteed a hero grade item? That's insane. Ulryo, you damn scumbag. After leaving the store, Yunwoo still couldn't hide his surprise and blurted out. How did this even happen? Getting a guaranteed epic item is totally absurd. Don't you think? Hanbit turned to look at him with a puzzled face. What's an epic item? I also see the word grade written right next to it. I'm a newbie, you have to explain it to me. Hearing this, his younger brother Yunwoo finally gave up and sighed to educate his older brother. Alright. Look, understand it simply, grade is the level, while rarity is the quality. Even with level 1 skill books, their performance varies depending on the rarity. They are divided into common, uncommon, rare, epic, unique, ancient, legendary, mythic. I didn't even know there was an epic grade at level 1, let alone that it would drop like this. It's truly ridiculous. On his side, Hanbit stroked his chin and thought, so a skill book can have different levels of performance? In that other world, there was no such thing. Or did they add it just because this is a game? I guess I have to experience it myself to know just how powerful this epic title is. On the street, Ju Yinwei asked confusedly, Hey buddy, where on earth should we go now? Kong Hanbit put his hands on his hips and slowly answered, As for that, suddenly, a sharp, intense pain gripped his chest tightly. Ju Yinwei saw this and panicked. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Kong Hanbit's entire form began to blur. It's nothing. My mom is here. In an instant, Ju Yinwei was left alone on the street. He stood dumbfounded, still not understanding what had just happened. A long while later, Ju Yinwei finally regained his composure and shouted, Brother Hanbit! Kong Hanbit broke into a cold sweat, trying to act as normal as possible, and opened his mouth. Mom, you're home. I'm busy handling something extremely important. His mother watched him with a gloomy expression. She erupted in a fit of rage, hitting Kong Hanbit painfully several times. You kid? Why did you lock the room door? You've never done this before. Kong Hanbit pointed his index finger at a black machine and justified. Mom, you know Yinwei, right? He gave me a discharge gift, so I'm just trying it out. He waved his hands frantically and continued. He said we should play games together since I just finished my military service. Si-yun asked, Is that the thing called a record player or something? Kong Hanbit smiled awkwardly and picked up his bag. How do you know about that, Mom? She turned around and demanded. Put that backpack down and let me put it away for you. It's always on the news. Just don't keep your eyes glued to it for too long. Kong Hanbit raised an eyebrow and explained. I only plan to play a little in my free time. After all, I start my internship tomorrow. Si-yun looked at him in surprise and asked, Internship? Did you really decide to do that? Kong Hanbit replied recklessly. I have at least 1 line of experience on my resume. Before he could finish, Si-yun hit him repeatedly. Look at you, always doing things on your own without saying a word to me. She raised her hand high, preparing to deliver a punch. Why on earth? Just then, Kong Hanbit used his arm to block it. I blocked it, see. Not long after, he was hit straight in the face by Si-yun. Blocked what? Exactly? She yelled angrily. What kind of parent would urge their child to find a job right after they're discharged? And the job starts tomorrow, too. Kong Hanbit held his eye and thought to himself. This is even tougher than facing a martial arts master. His face turned bright red as he informed her. Well, the next semester is my last one before graduation. I need to find a job quickly. Sia sighed in frustration. Then she walked away, calling back. You said that company is in Edlin, right? Then you'll have to wake up early. Sion warned him worriedly. No matter how busy you are not allowed to skip breakfast. Don't think I don't know you skipped it today. Kong Hanbit replied shyly. Because Ju Yinwer already bought me chocolate ice cream. Are you trying to make excuses again? She turned sharply and shouted. Kong Hanbit hurriedly said, I'll head to my room. Enjoy yourself, Mom. He sat down heavily on the bed and let out a long sigh. Good grief. My mom. Kong Hanbit looked at the clock, lost in thought. Oh, that's right. I'm live streaming. Anyway, tomorrow is my first day of work, so I should get to sleep a bit early. I feel so bad for Ju Yinwer right now. A new post with many views appeared. Hidden skills and hero-grade quests have just appeared. An anonymous person expressed ridicule through the post. A rookie with delusions of grandeur has appeared. This guy is a total system bug. He possesses dozens of suggested skills, some even of the hidden variety. The quest guaranteeing a hero reward is the path to receiving fire magic from Itsubal. Jaeha was unhappy as he scrolled through each comment. This wasn't funny at all. He leaned back, his eyes still glued to the tablet. Who would believe such a scam? Jaeha raised an eyebrow, confused, and thought. Why is everyone making such a fuss over a single hidden skill activation? He looked at the post and mocked. These streamers are willing to do anything to get viral advertising. Jaeha leisurely put his feet on the table and remarked, Even when I search, I only see monster names popping up. He squinted slightly, determined in his heart. It seems I'll have to verify the authenticity of this news myself. Elsewhere, Ju Yinwer rolled his eyes, poking his two index fingers together. He hesitated and opened his mouth. That's what I wanted to say. A series of noisy messages scrolled by, mentioning Loper. What? What is he doing? If you look at that info, what on earth is Loper? Fight. Fight. Is this a trap or what? Ju Yinwer awkwardly tried to stabilize the situation. First of all, I invite everyone to calm down. 2 lines of comments full of confusion appeared. How old is your friend? If that's the type who's attached to his mother, is he really a middle school student? He broke into a cold sweat and replied awkwardly. Black Dragon. We both served in the military, and he's also a filial son to his mother. To be clear, I'm the superior officer here. Ju Yinwer suddenly glanced to the side. He was startled to see the viewership numbers soaring. Ju Yinwer bit his finger in confusion and stuttered. Why are the viewer counts increasing so crazily? Ju Yinwer's expression became distorted at the information he just heard. What? There's a post about us on the RPG forum. Suddenly, Ju Yinwer's system menu popped up a message. From Black Dragon. Sorry for having to leave early. Tomorrow is my first day of work, so I have to stop here. In return, I will give everyone a hint. Ju Yinwer fell into deep thought, touching his system interface. Then he smiled awkwardly and returned to interacting. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Because my partner cannot stay due to personal reasons, he has left a gift behind. I wonder if I should make this thing public. The healing item for Itsubal's quest can be found from a bomb slime. If you complete it before he returns, he will share even more special information. The gentle sunlight passed over the high-rise buildings, covering the city in warmth. Kong Hanbit held his phone, muttering a wish. Try your best at work. Afterwards, he looked up at the building in front of him. The sign hanging on the office door read, Enk Technology, Floor 4. Kong Hanbit peered inside confusedly and greeted, Hello. I'm the new intern starting today. He observed the chaotic scene inside blankly. The crowd was running back and forth tensely, shouting. Who entered the lab without permission yesterday? The modifications haven't been applied yet. Check it right now. He suddenly turned his eyes toward Kong Hanbit. He placed the file on his shoulder and grumbled. What? The intern just arrived today? What is HR doing? Someone immediately retorted. I already told you guys yesterday. His eyes narrowed in annoyance, and he clicked his tongue. Then he waved his hand indifferently, ordering, Hey Lee Miho, lead the intern to prepare a workspace. Miho quickly stood up and answered, "Yes, sir." He walked over to Kong Hanbit and introduced, "My name is Lee Miho. If you're unsure about anything, just ask me." Afterward, Miho brushed past him and suggested, "Put your bag down and follow me. I'll show you your seat and we'll review the contract paperwork later." Miho pointed toward the whiteboard and requested, "For now, can you help me wipe the whiteboard clean?" Kong Hanbit agreed immediately. "Yes, I'll do it right away." He picked up the eraser and gently wiped away the lines of light text. Sungmin walked in holding a glass of water. "What the hell is this? Why are there two people here today?" He rolled his eyes toward Kong Hanbit and asked, "And who are you?" Miho lowered his head and explained slowly, "Good morning, team leader. This is the intern I reported to you about a few days ago." He stood blankly and said, "Hello." Faster than lightning, Kong Hanbit bowed 90 degrees in front of Sungmin. "I look forward to learning many things during this internship." He brushed past Kong Hanbit indifferently, leaving a reminder, "There's no need to try too hard. Just do as you're told." Sungmin cast his eyes toward him. "If you've finished cleaning, you can head out." Hearing that, Kong Hanbit opened the door and left the room. He let out a long, dejected sigh, thinking, "I can already foresee the future of this company. Well, it's better for me to focus on self-learning whatever I can while I'm here. Anyway, it's still better than rolling around in that other world." Kong Hanbit's blurry feet gradually became clear. He rubbed his neck tiredly and opened his mouth. "I'm back. Sorry for missing all your messages. My first day of work was truly incredibly chaotic." Ju Yinwa looked at Kong Hanbit with eyes full of starlight. "It's all right." He felt overwhelmed by Ju Yinwa's expression. What was that look about? He curved his lips and asked in a girlish voice, "What's wrong with my face?" Kong Hanbit remarked, "It looks like it's about to hypnotize someone." His eyes widened after hearing information from Ju Yinwa's mouth. "We hit the jackpot. Look at the number of viewers. It's already exceeded 5,000. He happily bumped his shoulder into Kong Hanbit's and started interacting with the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, we will now officially start the quest." He put his hands on his hips and glanced at Ju Yinwa, asking, "Has anyone succeeded yet?" He gave a thumbs up and said excitedly, "No one has been able to do it yet." Lines of comments appeared. "Is he laughing? He looks overly happy. Hurry and show us. Is this actually possible? If this is a lie, you know what the consequences will be, right?" Kong Hanbit tilted his head and teased, "You guys really lack imagination. You need to use a bit more creativity." Kong Hanbit headed forward with a look full of confidence. "All right, I'll demonstrate it myself. Everyone try to keep up. First, head to the main city gate." Ju Yinwa walked while questioning, "Are you sure you're actually a newbie? You still owe us an explanation." He explained awkwardly, "I already said it before. I've read a lot of fantasy novels." Kong Hanbit waved his hand again and informed him, "I just think that in a game with such a high degree of freedom, anything can happen." Suddenly, an annoyed voice reached his ears. "Hey, I guarantee all of that is nonsense. Just trust him for a moment. Anyway, we're just killing time." Kong Hanbit observed the crowd in front of him, confused. What is going on? Why is everyone gathering here? Ju Yinwa speculated, "I think they're people who read the post on the community forum." A loud notification sound caught Kong Hanbit's attention. "It's the Vanguard team. The Vanguard team has arrived." He raised his eyebrows and repeated in his mind, "Vanguard team?" Ju Yinwa leaned close to Kong Hanbit and whispered, "Oh my god, it really is the Vanguard team. It looks like the news you discovered has spread much further than we thought." Kong Hanbit's eyes remained fixed on Taemin's group, asking, "But what on earth is the Vanguard team?" Ju Yinwa retorted, "You definitely don't know about this, do you?" He observed Taemin with his blonde hair and whispered to himself, "Right, you're just a rookie." Then Ju Yinwa looked over to the archer and the brown-haired girl and explained, "Players ranked in the top 10,000 are called the Vanguard team." Afterward, he glanced at the remaining two members and continued, "They rank players by converting level, skill proficiency, and quest progress into a point score." Kong Hanbit listened and poured out a series of questions. "Out of 3 million players worldwide, only 10,000 belong to this group, and in Korea, there are only 500. And those people haven't even learned magic yet? Looking closely, it seems there's someone there who looks like a mage. Ju Yinwa tilted his head and explained. Most of them skip it because grinding proficiency is too grueling, and they prioritize increasing power first. People usually wear mage avatars just because they look good. Kong Hanbit's eyes fell on the golden bird bow on the archer's back. That bow, its image jumped out in his mind. That is the golden bird bow. I still remember it clearly. It's the work of a quite talented artisan. He stood in the crowd and asked in a low voice, does this mean even those people failed to complete the quest? Ju Yinwa shared the information he knew with Kong Hanbit. Most of the Vanguard team members belong to large corporations. He exclaimed in surprise. Corporations? Ju Yinwa imagined countless hands reaching up toward the light and said, they receive comprehensive support from the company to complete role-playing tasks in RP. Even without counting the ownership of the game that is causing controversy this time, role-playing definitely brings in high profits. Suddenly, a finger poked Kong Hanbit's shoulder. Sorry to bother you for a second. The person seemed to recognize him and leaned in to ask, you're Black Dragon, right? Are you live streaming right now? When are you going to show us the scene where you complete the quest? Kong Hanbit answered blankly. I was planning to start right now, but a red-haired guy suddenly cut in and asserted, hey, I told you all that stuff was just a scam. The other person frowned and argued back. Why won't you just trust me for once instead of making such a scene? The red-haired guy yelled out in annoyance. You idiot. Last time you wrongly trusted a scammer and got stripped bone dry. Left with nothing but your underwear. The other person shouted back furiously. You bastard. Shut your mouth right now. Kong Hanbit put his hands on his hips and suggested. First of all, let's move toward the ocean. Ju Yinwa asked in confusion. Isn't the slime bomb base located in the forest on the other side? Kong Hanbit turned his head, his lips curling into a smile as he said, I need a fishing rod to craft the antidote. A line of text scrolled across the top of his head. A fishing rod? Ju Yinwa looked up at a series of coins appearing above his head after donating 1,001. The price of fish near Edlin Coast is skyrocketing. Damn it. Lines of contemptuous text appeared. Typical price manipulators. They're definitely watching Loper's broadcast and acting in real time. That's hilarious. Truly disgusting. That is honestly beyond terrible. I hope you go bald. Kong Hanbit placed his hand on his chin, grinning mischievously. These people don't understand a thing. Ju Yinwa turned to him and asked in confusion. Why exactly do you need a fishing rod? Is the ingredient for the medicine under the ocean? Kong Hanbit raised one hand and answered suggestively. Well, who knows? Ju Yinwa cried and clung to his leg, wailing. This isn't all a lie, right? If it's a lie, my streaming career is basically over. Kong Hanbit gaped at his actions. No. He reached out toward Ju Yinwa and spoke firmly. Trust me. First, I need a rod. So lend me 70,000 gold. He followed Kong Hanbit with a face as innocent as a fawn. Look at that preparation, it's actually funny. The sky gradually turned a dusky orange. The crowd chattered and looked at each other under the sky that was slowly shifting into shades of amber. Kong Hanbit stood on the bridge, raising an eyebrow as he observed the distance. Why do I feel like the number of people is increasing? He put his hand to his forehead and spoke leisurely. I'll return the gold soon, so relax your face. Ju Yinwa turned away helplessly and replied, because we don't have a single clue about what you plan to do with a fishing rod. You don't need to return that money. Oh, there he is. The back of Eldrock fishing came into the audience's view. That was Eldrock. If you fish next to him, your internal intimacy level will increase. Apparently, the setting is that he's hard of hearing. Kong Hanbit approached him before anyone noticed and bowed in greeting. Hello, old-timer. He smiled gently and held up the fishing rod in his hand. Eldrock slowly turned his head and asked, Do you want to buy this rod? Did some accident happen? Kong Hanbit leaned in close to his ear mischievously and called out, Grandpa, I know perfectly well you can hear everything. I'll give you 50,000 gold. Eldrock lowered his head, sinking into thought. Then he coldly stated his desired price. Don't even dream about it. 100,000 gold. Kong Hanbit ignored Eldrock's words and held out his hand to set the price. Then let's settle at 60,000 gold. He thought to himself. This old man is still stuck in his old ways. Eldrock shouted out in dissatisfaction. 60,000 gold is lower than the cost price. It has to be 90,000 gold, you brat. Kong Hanbit lowered the price again. Then just take 50,000 gold. Eldrock was outraged by his cheekiness. Are you trying to swindle an old man? You absolute devil. Kong Hanbit thought excitedly. Hearing him curse reminds me of the days we went fishing together. Eldrock's eyebrows suddenly shot up, and he waved his hand in approval. You crafty brat, you're really sharp. Fine. Do whatever you want. He grabbed the fishing rod and shouted excitedly, Thanks, old-timer. Seeing Kong Hanbit's reaction, Eldrock yelled for him to just take it and get lost. Zhu Yinhua closed his eyes and gave his assessment. I feel like live streaming is just your instinct. He asked back in confusion. Why is that? Zhu Yinhua followed Kong Hanbit's every move and continued. Starting from the fact you said, you'd show us something in a slime bomb-infested area using a fishing rod. And now, while fishing with Loper using this rod, he excitedly held up his index finger and suggested, how about trying an RP roleplay session? Zhu Yinhua narrowed his eyes and replied, I don't know what that is, but I hate it. A line of text appeared with a question. I'm a newbie too. What kind of monsters are slime bombs? Zhu Yinhua gestured toward the slime bombs and explained, slime bombs are extremely sensitive, so if you touch them, then a massive explosion will engulf you. Then Zhu Yinhua picked up a stone and threw it at the slime bombs. They'll blow up. He gaped in terror at its destructive power. Zhu Yinhua stood at a distance, watching the slime bombs intently. Even if you just run into them, he looked dazed at the scene before him. They just explode like that too. Zhu Yinhua and Kong Hanbit looked into the distance at the same time. And when they explode, they don't drop any items at all. They're truly trash. How can you deal with such a useless lump using a fishing rod? Only he knows the answer to that. He took one step forward. Kong Hanbit knelt down, using the fishing rod to reach near a slime bomb. Found it. This height is perfect. Kong Hanbit began to reel the rod, silently calculating. The sensitivity of the fishing rod in the game is a bit different from reality. I need to get used to it first. Countless slime bombs came into his view. Zhu Yinhua suddenly turned his head and called out, Hey man! He nervously shared some information. I think people are following us. The system screen displayed the text. Several shameless guys are sneaking around behind your back. Kong Hanbit narrowed his eyes slightly, sinking into thought. I already knew. He briefly heard a strange noise in the nearby bushes. They've been keeping their distance and tailing us since we left the city. Zhu Yinhua imagined countless eyes lurking behind his back. And it wasn't just one group, but several different ones. He gestured toward the blue screen and asked, Can you open the screen settings window for me? Kong Hanbit immediately answered. Here it is. The corners of Zhu Yinhua's mouth curled into a dangerous smile as he said, Everyone, I'm very sorry, but after this, the system interface will gradually change. Just for a moment, he raised an eyebrow, his tone turning mysterious. There will be a brief interface adjustment. Kong Hanbit wondered with amusement. Should we mess with them a little bit? Zhu Yinhua admitted a truth. I've been passionate about fantasy worlds since I was very young. It's practically etched in my bones. He couldn't share it with anyone, but back when he was in the military, no one in his unit shared that quirky hobby of his. Zhu Yinhua felt that life was too boring. To kill time and chase away the boredom, he had read that old book over and over until the pages were worn thin. He had been waiting for this day for a long time, until a recruit joined our unit. Zhu Yinhua constantly started conversations with the soldier. Hey newbie, have you ever read this novel? He pointed to a page in the book. I have read it. I was particularly impressed by this part and found it very interesting. He was attracted by the interpretation. Even though he had pored over that book dozens of times, that rookie soldier still pointed out fascinating details he had never noticed before. Zhu Yinhua finally mustered the courage to say, You know what? His eyes were filled with admiration. You're truly outstanding. It feels as if you've personally set foot in the world of the story yourself. Zhu Yinhua regained his usual confidence. Let's experience a world more real than reality. As soon as he saw the advertisement for that RP role-playing game after being discharged, he understood immediately. He yearned to collaborate with Kang Hanbit. If he could play alongside that guy, he would surely create an unprecedented legend. Ju Yinwer spoke quietly to let Kang Hanbit know. Right now, only my screen is being broadcast. Kang Hanbit kept his eyes fixed ahead. I know, he thought to himself. For now, let's just pretend we're focused on dealing with the slimes. He smiled brightly and greeted the viewers. All right, while Black Dragon is adjusting the screen, everyone remember to hit follow on Loper's channel. Kang Hanbit knew that feeling better than anyone. Just watching from Ju Yinwa's perspective felt incredibly stifling. Kang Hanbit had long since realized it through his reaction. Perhaps he was also worried that other rivals would soon catch up to him. He didn't need to look back to guess the situation. The tense stare down between the groups tailing us probably wouldn't last much longer. If this tense and uneasy situation continued forever. Slow footsteps treading on the grass. Slow footsteps treading on the grass. Kang Hanbit turned his head to confirm who was coming. He was too familiar with reckless cases where impatient people would eventually act hastily. Kang Hanbit raised his hand to touch the livestream screen. Everyone appeared surprised by his appearance. The screen is back on. Why are they suddenly greeting each other? This is so abrupt. Kang Hanbit gripped the fishing rod tightly in his hand. He decisively swung the hook down toward the slimes. Kang Hanbit always considered things carefully before acting. There was a reason behind buying this fishing rod from the old man Eldrock. He analyzed its utility in detail. This hook has a special feature. First of all, the hook is extremely sharp, so the slimes don't even notice or react. Kang Hanbit performed each step carefully, and when you press this button like this, he knew the process like the back of his hand. Sharp spikes will immediately shoot out from the tip of the hook. Kang Hanbit didn't have to face them head-on but could still deal with the slimes. That way, he could completely control the explosions. He directed his gaze further away, and next, the slimes caught in the explosion will suddenly fall to the ground like a harmless lump of jelly. The two players were startled when they saw the slimes at their feet. One person hurriedly reminded his teammate, "We should avoid them. Damn it, let's retreat right now." The tree canopy shaking violently caught his attention. Someone screamed, not expecting there to be so many. "The slimes are falling. Run fast. Everyone scatter." A slime accidentally fell in front of him. Damn it! Kang Hanbit slung the fishing rod over his shoulder. While Ju Yinwa covered his ears tightly for fear it would explode, he took pride in the recent handling. So that takes care of the slimes. The viewers couldn't believe their eyes. Is this guy actually insane? So he separated the normal audience from the wrong slimes. The greeting earlier was actually very accurate. He outed himself. Kang Hanbit still had unfinished business. Now let's get down to the main task. A comment brought up a question. Didn't all the slimes already explode? A keen viewer noticed something unusual. What is this one? This color is totally different. A slime was struck by his hook. Kang Hanbit gently lifted it off the ground. He tossed the slime into a cloth bag. Kang Hanbit showed off the harvest to the viewers. All right, all ingredients have been collected. Everyone was competing to explain. Why is this one giant? It's a dud. Maybe it's a game bug. Given that color difference, there must be a hidden meaning. He quickly provided more useful information. Actually, it really is a dud. If you destroy the entire slime pack at once, there's a certain probability that the remaining ones will turn into dud slimes. Ju Yinwer was curious about the method. Could it be that we just need to do it this way to complete the quest? If so, everyone will flock to catch them before our eyes. Kang Hanbit didn't think that far ahead. I'm just providing a guide, so everyone can complete the quest. He looked at the dud slime in the bag and flashed a triumphant smile. However, the controls won't be easy at all. Come on, let's head to Itsubel's place. A sigh echoed in the late afternoon. Jae-ha broke into a cold sweat after escaping. That was a close call. Kim Jae-ha was an employee in the role-playing department at a small-scale gold farm where he worked. He noticed Kang Hanbit's formidable ability. That player is Black Dragon. He is absolutely not a normal newbie. Jae-ha believed he wasn't just average but a true expert. Behind him, There must be a massive conglomerate backing him, something his own workplace couldn't possibly compare to. He felt bewildered by Kang Hanbit's unconventional choice, truly unable to understand why he would collaborate with a bottom-tier streamer like that. Jae-ha could only make a rough judgment. Maybe he's acting as a decoy to draw attention, hiding what the Vanguard team has actually found. He didn't have time for random thoughts. Regardless, he had to complete Atsubul's quest first. Jae-ha reminded himself to try harder than before. Just completing this quest alone is enough to meet my performance quota for this month. However, Kim Jae-ha did not succeed. Atsubul was already feeling creeped out. What on earth have you brought to me? She couldn't understand Kang Hanbit's thinking at all. You dare bring this disgusting thing and call it medicine? Viewers who didn't know the truth commented like experts. Is this poison? It definitely is. He was still skeptical of Atsubul's assessment. Is it really that bad? She could only sigh, unable to do anything else. Atsubul didn't want to see him anymore. I'll compensate you for the Julio matter with money. Now get out. Kang Hanbit then teased her. It seems you aren't that desperate yet. Those suggestive words made Atsubul shake with anger. How dare you speak such nonsense when you know nothing? Before she could react, he stuffed a piece of dud slime into her mouth. Out of habit, she swallowed it without suspicion. Atsubul was startled by Kang Hanbit's suspicious action. Ju Yinwer felt that he himself was useless, truly a good-for-nothing. Everyone joined in teasing him. Loper's expression looked very honest. Just looking into her eyes, you could tell she was thinking, what a piece of trash. Now she realized the problem. You? Did you just force me to drink that thing? Atsubul covered her mouth tightly to avoid vomiting. Kang Hanbit knew this would happen. The effect came very quickly. Ju Yinwa couldn't help but worry. She's vomiting non-stop over there. Her bathroom door suddenly swung open. Atsubul angrily scolded him harshly. You bastard! What do you think you're doing? She was furious but could do nothing. Kang Hanbit is really strange. Kang Hanbit still flashed a bright smile. It looks like something like a seed just shot out, right? He fed the dud slime to Atsubul with good intentions. That was actually the cause of the illness. Kang Hanbit made an accurate judgment through observation. That was the real root of the disease that both she and her mother were suffering from. Atsubul didn't understand his meaning. What? Kang Hanbit had helped her with all his heart. I'm being very serious. The thing you just threw up is the root of all the problems. He was indeed a perceptive person. You weren't feeling well yourself, were you? I realized it the moment I saw you. Kang Hanbit understood Atsubul's heart. Perhaps all this time she had been silently enduring the pain alone for fear her mother would worry more, and also for fear that scum like Julio would use it to threaten her. She wanted Kang Hanbit to answer her question. How could you know these things? Kang Hanbit just thought to himself. Knowing the reason she did it, I couldn't bring myself to call her foolish. He was well informed about the toxin. What you swallowed is actually a type of parasitic seed that grows in the southern region. It clings tightly to the stomach wall and begins to grow from the inside. Kang Hanbit explained thoroughly for Atsubul to understand. Most likely you were infected by eating imported food from that region. And the fluid of a slime monster is the only thing that can detach it. That's why I had to catch the dud slime. That's the reason we needed a broken slime. A type of slime that has lost its ability to self-explode. Kang Hanbit summarized its properties. When it no longer has explosive characteristics, it only leaves behind mucus and a toxin that stimulates the vomiting reflex. He knew exactly how great the danger was. Once you vomit that seed out, you'll be completely cured from the start. This wasn't an ordinary illness to begin with. Atsubul looked at the plate of dud slime on the table. So I just need to vomit it out? Kang Hanbit was completely confident in his treatment. Once that thing is out of the body, you won't need any kind of medicine anymore. He handed over the task of curing her mother to her. Now, go check on your mother's condition. Kang Hanbit didn't dare express it outwardly. Atsubul, even if this is just a game world, he especially cherished her appearance and personality. Hadn't changed a bit, because only Kang Hanbit understood her better than anyone. This silly girl always knew how to care for others' pain more than her own. He was grateful when Atsubul stood up to protect him from bad people. Although her way of speaking was a bit rough, She had always been by his side supporting him. Kong Hanbit prayed with the hope it would come true. I truly hope that you will find happiness for yourself. The system updated the situation as it entered a cutscene. She decided to bring the plate of dud slime to her mother. Mother, I've brought the medicine back for you. Atsubal followed his instructions. You only need to take a small sip, mother. She helped her mother sit up and then scooped up a spoonful of the solution. Atsubal watched her mother's expression closely. She didn't take her eyes off her mother for even a second. Atsubal was surprised by the somewhat terrifying result. Mother threw it up. Giant seeds kept pouring out like that. It was truly unbelievable. I can't believe how much money I was swindled out of by those quack doctors. She swore to herself that she must deal with the villains. They're finished. I definitely won't let them get away that easily. Kong Hanbit was overjoyed. It had been a long time since I last saw her smile. Atsubal was moved to tears. I am extremely grateful to both of you. People flooded the broadcast to see her. Sister, you're so beautiful. We were successful. My wife. From today, she is officially my wife. This is true love. He touched the screen when he noticed the viewers making a fuss. What are these guys saying? She was deeply grateful for the timely help. Thanks to both of you. Both my mother and I have kept our lives. Atsubal took down a precious book. So, it's perfectly reasonable for me to give a reward to the two of you, isn't it? She placed it on the table as a thank you gift. This is the skill book that you've been looking for all this time. Kong Hanbit happily accepted the book. Thank you. Atsubal was still being formal with him. I am the one who needs to say thank you to you guys. Ju Yinwe was eager to try touching it out of curiosity. Bro, you really are number one. Can I touch it just once? But he flatly refused. Get your hands off. This item belongs to me now. Now, are we going to set off for the next quest? She kindly wanted to offer more items. Where are you guys planning to go? I still have many things I want to give you. She brought a bag to the two. First, take this and this too. He didn't expect this. It felt like she was giving more rewards than usual, right? The system sent a notification to him. First to complete reward event is being distributed. It confirmed that the reward money would be increased. The reward payment amount was adjusted to the maximum limit. From 2,000 gold increased to 4,000 gold. He was rewarded by the system after completing the quest. Attribute points increased from 3 to 5. Received 2 additional attribute points, and it continuously granted experience points plus 200. The system continuously sent notifications that he had gained 5 levels. Received 5 additional attribute points from leveling up. Kong Hanbit was also surprised by the generous rewards. The grade of Atsubal's skill book had been upgraded. Quest item. Atsubal's hero grade fireball skill book, a fire attribute magic book that once belonged to Atsubal, upgraded from hero to unique. He couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Kong Hanbit stood blankly in thought. If Atsubal felt pleased, then thinking like that was probably fine too. A sudden thought popped into his head as soon as he saw the words First Conquest. Ju Yinwe was stunned and amazed by the blinding light. Looking at the series of comments before him, a question suddenly arose. Can this even be fixed? A moment later, he laughed and exclaimed, Oh my God! I really didn't expect something like this to exist. Ju Yinwe walked closer, confused, his mouth unable to stop shouting. A unique grade magic book is the reward for the first person to complete it? That's just too awesome. Then he suddenly lowered his voice and reminded him, Hey buddy, say something to the people watching the live stream. As soon as he finished, the live chat exploded, making Ju Yinwe panic and reassure them. Everyone, please calm down. Please stay calm. Honestly, we didn't know anything about this either. I swear. Looking at the comments that were popping up non-stop, he muttered helplessly, Oh man, what should I do now? The chat frame is scrolling too fast. I can't even read what they're writing. Right at this moment, Atsubal slowly walked over, making him startle back to reality. Here, take this as well. Kong Hanbit reluctantly raised his hand to accept the paper. There are still more items to give? What now? The system screen displayed. Achievement unlocked. The first to rescue Atsubal received Atsubal's letter of introduction and 1 attribute point. Immediately after, another letter was delivered. Etsubel smiled gently and explained, "This is a letter of introduction to meet the blacksmith. Go there if you need new weapons." He heard this and repeated with some suspicion, "Find the blacksmith?" Etsubel remembered their first meeting and asked back, "You guys don't have a single decent weapon. Furthermore, your equipment was completely destroyed after confronting those bomb slimes. Right?" Kong Hanbit hurriedly justified, "That stench came from the bomb slimes, not us." She just put her hands on her hips and questioned him again. "You were the one who handed me that stinking thing. You know it well." Saying that, Etsubel stood up straight, smiled brightly, and offered, "Anyway, thank you so much for these gifts. Come back anytime if you need help." Facing that kind offer, he couldn't help but respond softly, "Okay." A moment later, Kong Hanbit looked at the map in front of him, feeling a headache. "So, where should we start now?" Ju Yinwer answered quickly, "There's no mandatory specific target. Since this is an open world, we can go wherever we want." He began to list the advantages of the game. Starting at Edlin is the same for everyone, but after that step, everyone is free. Maximum freedom is a major advantage of this game. However, be extremely careful because if you wander carelessly, you might get stuck in high-level areas. Many people have had to taste bitterness because they couldn't find a way out of those places. Finally, Ju Yinwer naively concluded, "Thinking back, this game is also very famous for its free character customization system. But why did you?" Seeing that, he nudged his shoulder and teased while Kong Hanbit looked on speechless. "Look at me. It looks quite like real life but is much more luxurious. Took 5 hours for me to look like this." As if remembering something, Ju Yinwer suddenly shouted, "You can also choose your gender. So remember that what you see might not be everything." The more he heard, the more his head ached. "So basically, I have to choose my next destination myself? Where would be the best place to start my first journey?" From the side, a sound suddenly attracted Kong Hanbit's attention. The system screen displayed a prominent line of text. User Respect Tastes donated 50,000 won. I want to see Etsubel get even angrier. Looking at that massive number, he muttered blankly, 50,000. Meanwhile, Ju Yinwer shouted happily, "My God, Mr. Respect Tastes with 50,000. Thank you very much for this 50,000 won donation." Kong Hanbit heard this and shouted in surprise, "Does that mean I'll receive 25,000? The screen displayed another notification. User Asuba donated 10,000 won. Other user donated 30,000 won. Finally, a big spender waved their hand and spent big. User Fire Charisma donated 100,000 won. Seeing the amount, he went wide-eyed. 100,000 won? Is it really 100,000 won? Sincere thanks. Ju Yinwer spoke then turned to announce, "Look at the viewer count increasing crazily. It's already hit the 8,000 mark." The chat group was also buzzing. "It's really blowing up. My little slime channel. It was originally a hidden gem that only I knew about. I should have invested in this sooner." Currently, 8,164 people are watching. Kong Hanbit didn't answer but narrowed his eyes in thought. Just by completing a single quest for Etsubel, he attracted 8,000 people immediately. He awkwardly stammered his appreciation. "Thank you all so much. Thank you for your donations." A comment immediately popped up demanding, "Show us a reaction worthy of 100,000 won." He nodded repeatedly, complying, "A reaction? Of course, I'll do it." Meanwhile, Kong Hanbit was blankly calculating. The total donation received so far is about 500,000 won. His cut will be 250,000 won. On the other side, Ju Yinwer was playing games for the viewers. "And here is a dance to express my gratitude." This made the comment section go crazy with laughter. "He's actually dancing. My eyes hurt. People are starting to leave." He kept his eyes fixed on his hands, calculating. This result was achieved just by completing one quest for Etsubel. If this momentum continues, maybe I'll earn a huge amount of money. Kong Hanbit clenched his fist, silently feeling. Finally, I have the ability to repay my mother's kindness, although those memories have now faded. But he suddenly paused, dejectedly rethinking what the goddess had shown him, the flow of time in the high-pressure reality. An image flashed in his head of a poster searching for this man. Name, Kong Hanbit, 25 years old, male. Status: missing after departing for military service. Thinking of his mother's suffering, Kang Hanbit thought tragically. In that place, my mother completely gave up her own life just to find me. Therefore, from now on, I will make her happy. Ju Yin's excited reminder instantly pulled him out of his train of thought. Hey buddy, try using that skill book. Everyone is waiting anxiously. Kang Hanbit paused before replying. I understand. Saying that, he gently touched the cover of the book. Immediately after, Kang Hanbit was instantly pulled into a virtual space. The system screen displayed, Unique Grade Fireball Skill Book, a fire attribute attack skill that burns everything with a fierce explosion of flames. He raised an eyebrow and said thoughtfully, This is too overwhelming. It's practically cheating. Thinking back, I had to go through so much hardship before. Ju Yinwa leaned in excitedly to probe. How is it? Isn't it wonderful? That feeling of how to use the skill just flowing into your head. Kang Hanbit replied without thinking. I don't think so. That remark quickly froze the atmosphere. He then remembered and quickly corrected himself. Well, it's starting to sink in now. Maybe it's because the transmission was a bit slow? Ju Yinwa didn't think much of it and continued. Maybe it's because it's a unique grade skill, so the acquisition process takes longer. Even so, strange questions arose in Kang Hanbit's mind. I clearly already learned it. Could it be reflecting what I learned in the other world? An image of the goddess popped into his head, making him pause. So this is the meaning of the phrase character existence when I first started. The excited urging of the boy suddenly rang out. Use it quickly. The audience is waiting anxiously. Kang Hanbit scolded him. Speechless. Old news. I already told you I know. Ju Yinwa pointed at the rock and requested. Try firing it at that rock over there. He immediately raised his hand, thinking internally, focusing all his thoughts on his palm. Kang Hanbit paused for a second, sighed gently, then exerted force to summon a flame. A giant fireball tore through the wind, flying swiftly through the air, carried an overwhelming momentum, lunging straight at the target. Just then, the rock was crushed to smithereens in the blink of an eye. Witnessing that explosion, he couldn't help but shout in surprise. Bro, that's really too amazing. Kang Hanbit tilted his chin proudly when hearing Ju Yinwa's flattery. He laughed, lamenting. I didn't expect the power of rank 1 to far exceed what I imagined. Kang Hanbit suddenly went silent, his blank gaze revealing terror, his face pale, pupils constricting, his eyes filled with fear. The system appeared and announced coldly. New effect for title, 55 time recorder unlocked. Kang Hanbit questioned in suspicion, stammering, What? Just as he finished speaking, a giant hand suddenly appeared above his head. The feeling of oppression made Kang Hanbit fear turning pale. At this moment, the system screen displayed information. 55 time recorder increases proficiency for all experience skills extremely quickly based on actual experience. Keyword unlocked. Spirit. Anger flared up, making him clench his teeth in resentment, his hand resting on his knee trembling nonstop. Kang Hanbit scolded angrily. That damn goddess. Kang Hanbit just let out a breath, holding his head in resentment as he thought. It turns out she was always following every step he took. Ju Yinwa asked worriedly, Hey buddy, are you okay? Kang Hanbit hurriedly reassured him. Don't worry, I'm fine. In his heart, he dejectedly added, Even if I explain, you wouldn't understand. Even so, Kang Hanbit found another excuse. Since this is the first time I've deployed high-level magic, my body must be a bit overloaded. I'm curious to see what a common rank skill looks like. Can you show me? He pointed at his face, confirming, You want me to demonstrate? Ju Yinwa avoided it in panic. Is it absolutely necessary to do it right now? He cast a contemptuous look and continued, I'm just genuinely curious. Finally, the boy accepted. All right then, don't laugh after watching. Saying that, Ju Yinwa quietly tried to calm himself down. He swung his hand hard to summon his fireball. Fireball? Seeing the fireball exist only for a split second, Kang Hanbit raised his eyebrows in admiration. He hesitated to offer praise. It actually has its own unique charm. That attitude made Ju Yinwa panic. You can yell at me to my face if you want. Kong Hanbit added, speechless. But this spell looks a bit too small, he explained dejectedly. Didn't I tell you clearly from the beginning? Grinding magic proficiency is torture. Yet you reached unique rank in just one try. Remembering the past, at that time, the system announced that player Loper had received a common rank fire skill book. The more Zhu Yin spoke, the more indignant he felt. That's so unfair, totally irrational. He twitched his mouth, slowly expressing, I didn't expect things to progress this quickly either. Even so, in Kong Hanbit's heart, he was calculating quietly. The difference isn't just in the unique rank, but the gap in proficiency level is definitely terrifying. He suddenly put on a serious face to instruct. Look here, you're completely misunderstanding the nature of magic. Magic isn't simply pressing a button to cast a spell. Maybe it's because of the book of... But the real issue lies in a much more fundamental aspect. He kept pouring it out. The essence of magic is actually mathematics. Incanting and coordinating mana flows requires meticulous calculation down to the finest detail. It's not just a simple difference in rank. Get it? Even though Zhu Yinwer was dumbfounded, Kong Hanbit didn't stop talking. Although unique skills are great, I won't be holding a staff for a while. The strength of magic is convenience, but for now, I don't intend to use it as a primary skill. Finally, the boy couldn't help but speak up. Hey buddy. He glanced over suspiciously. What's wrong? Zhu Yin's next words instantly left Kong Hanbit speechless. You only created this character yesterday, right? Looking at his twisted expression, the comment section immediately started mocking. Thanks for the lecture. It went in one ear and out the other. He's deep in delusions of grandeur. Too immersed in role-playing. I'm dying of laughter. Kong Hanbit's angry roar made the boy widen his eyes. You guys? What do you know about the essence of magic? Although he wasn't scared, the comment remained. Are you a real mage in real life? Kong Hanbit shouted angrily. Then from now on, don't expect to squeeze any info about other quests out of me. Zhu Yinwer hurriedly covered his mouth to reassure him. Hey buddy, cool off. Right at this moment, the comment screen popped up a notification. User Sogwagum donated 77,777 won. Cool off? Oh great Archmage. That notification instantly made both of them freeze. Kong Hanbit was then advised by someone pretending, oh man, you don't need to do this. He also bowed his head and laughed awkwardly. It's just that to make the live stream more dramatic, we overdid it a bit. Seeing that, the comment group couldn't help but mock. Look at that 180-degree turn in his attitude. As expected, financial therapy always works best. He smiled with contempt, wondering, am I really that obsessed with money? Strange, the anger just flew away. Even so, Kong Hanbit looked up and asked, do you guys want to know where I'm going right now? Without waiting for the comments, he rubbed his chin and answered himself. Actually, I've already targeted a location beforehand. A moment later, Zhu Yinwer looked at the house in front of him and asked, this place seems to be, he asked suspiciously. Aren't you planning to follow the main storyline? Kong Hanbit didn't answer but fell into deep thought. It's been quite a while since I returned to this place. He let out a sigh, saying, leave that for later. Before anything else, I need to go gather a few more skills. Saying that, Kong Hanbit pushed the door in front of him open. Inside the house was a man chopping something. The walls were covered with taxidermy. Zhu Yinwer hugged his arms, shaking as he commented, EW. This place always looks creepy. He heard the noise and turned around to ask, what's this? A guest. The speaker was the archery NPC hunter Rickner. He didn't hesitate and immediately stated his request. I'm here to learn how to use a bow. Rickner didn't care at all, swinging his knife down onto the chopping block. Are you serious? He stepped forward and asked again. Are you sure you have enough perseverance? Kong Hanbit twisted his wrist and proudly declared, I have plenty. I have enough of both perseverance and skill. Rickner snorted coldly. Big talk. The test is very simple. The next second, the screen displayed, Rickner's challenge quest to be taught archery. You must pass Rickner's test. Achieve the required score. Reward, 500 gold. Basic archery training book. Rank undefined. 1 potential point, 100 experience points. He turned his head to confirm. Shoot 30 times. Bullseye is 10 points. The total passing score is 200. Right? He answered calmly. That's exactly right. He heard that and just whispered a complaint. Man, at least put a few points into agility. It's really hard to pass like this. Kong Hanbit disagreed and just said, this is fine. Saying that, he picked up an arrow. Kong Hanbit drew the bow, his arm stiff as steel, his gaze locked on the target. Then he relaxed his hand, and the arrow flew swiftly, but the arrow fell limply to the ground. Zhu Yinwu choked and muttered, I told you to invest in agility, but you didn't listen. But Kong Hanbit wasn't discouraged and said, it's okay. I've grasped the pattern. Hearing that, Yinwu just followed along. Well, whatever. Just try your best. But before he could say anything else, Zhu Yinwu paused in surprise. On the target now was an arrow pinned to it. He couldn't believe it and blurted out, what on earth just happened? Zhu Yinwu stared wide-eyed at the target, mouth agape in awe. That's insane. At this moment, he was still drawing the bow, even though his arm was shaking. Seeing the arrow hit the bullseye again, he couldn't help but exclaim, hey buddy, who on earth are you? A god. 1 shot 7 points, 2 shots 10 points, and in the remaining 26 shots, the entire 26 shots, the subsequent arrows continuously pinned straight into the bullseye. The arrow carried the force to tear through the air, embedding deeply into the 10-point bullseye. After finishing his shot, Kong Hanbit raised his hand high. He couldn't help but think proudly. A total score of 287. That was the moment I achieved the unthinkable for someone using only level 2 equipment. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, as gold coins were tossed into the air, a bored sigh escaped softly. Lia caught a coin and muttered quietly, this is so tedious and boring. Isn't there anything more interesting to play? She clenched her hand and clicked her tongue. These small fries with such poor coin pouch security at least make it effortless. Mid-sentence, Lia suddenly froze, spotting 2 figures standing in front of the door. She felt a hint of suspicion. Then Lia suddenly flashed a mischievous smile. What kind of idiots just walk straight into their own doom like this? Kong Hanbit excitedly hugged the bag of items in his hands, humming a long tune. That attitude left Kong Hanbit only able to glance over with a speechless expression. Finally, he couldn't help but speak up. You're being a bit too excited. He skipped along and replied, what else can I do? I literally can't stop smiling. Zhu Yinwu turned toward him, buzzing with excitement to praise him. That performance just now was truly top tier. Were you some kind of archery master back in school? Kong Hanbit's lip twitched as he denied it. There's no way, but he didn't care and shouted happily. At this rate, we're about to be drowning in gold coins, man. Zhu Yinwu briefly rambled on. It just so happens I placed a bet on the pole and brought home a huge profit. No one could have guessed your archery skills were that god tier. The more he talked, the more delighted he became. I think we should create shocks like this every once in a while. Kong Hanbit reminded him helplessly. Loper, the live stream is still broadcasting. The comments section chimed in speechlessly. That's right, I haven't gone to sleep yet. The spiciness of the comments was gradually increasing. Having said that, Zhu Yinwu suddenly stopped and inquired, so, where's our next stop? He looked thoughtfully at his hand and began to calculate. I plan to go and gain more insight into swordsmanship. He asked back naively, is it an agility skill? Kong Hanbit shrugged and explained, that's a prerequisite if you want to learn swordsmanship. Seeing that, Zhu Yinwu's eyes widened as he exclaimed, speed skills are considered top-tier trash since they have no practical value. Yet you didn't even listen and just dashed off. Stop muttering and follow me. I'm heading out first. He had no choice but to give in and chase after him. Hey man, wait for me. A moment later, Lia looked at the two of them and spoke slowly. There's a reason why everyone avoids speed skills, and the reason is that she raised an eyebrow confidently and continued. Compared to the actual efficiency speed provides, the difficulty of Lia's quest is just beyond ridiculous. Zhu Yinwu leaned in with a hint of doubt to inquire. Are you sure you can actually pull this off? Kong Hanbit didn't answer and simply stepped forward. He stopped seriously in front of Lia. Kong Hanbit calmly made his request. I came here to learn the thing you're best at. She judged him with great interest. You seem to have a bit of an aura about you. However, right after saying that, Lia suddenly vanished. In an instant, the coin pouch had fallen into her hands. Lia escaped and disappeared before the two of them even realized it. She held up the coin pouch and commented arrogantly, "Your movements are still far too slow." Lia flashed a provocative smile and declared, "Consider this tuition fee as a welcoming gift." But seeing that indifferent appearance, she felt a bit suspicious. "Why are you so nonchalant without any reaction at all?" Kong Hanbit leaned calmly against the wall and ordered, "You've received the tuition, right? Now teach me that skill." In his heart, he began to calculate. Compared to the gold you stole from me throughout 55 regressions, this price is still quite cheap. At that, Lia fell into deep thought. Then she suddenly frowned and flashed a cruel smile. "I really can't stand that attitude of yours at all. If that's how it is." Then, to the shock of the two men, Lia quickly leaped away from the spot. "Class has officially begun. Try to keep up with me if you're capable." The system screen appeared accordingly. Quest: Lia, the person who promised to teach you skills, has fled. Find her within the allotted time. Rewards: Lia's speed manual, unidentified rank. 1 potential point, 100 experience points. Kong Hanbit's face darkened. In his mind, he began to estimate. According to information from experience, catching Lia once she has run off is impossible. Lia only allows the quest to be completed after sacrificing 25,000 gold over 5 lessons, each lasting 3 hours, totaling 15 hours. Meanwhile, Zhu Yinwer was wondering blankly, "Where's my money? My gold too." Looking at the timer before him, he fell into thought. "During this entire time, I can't do other quests, and the clock will stop if I exit the game." Seeing the situation, the comments hurriedly discussed, "He's actually planning to complete the quest. What is he going to do now?" Kong Hanbit let out a sinister laugh and replied, "Do you even have to ask? Of course. I'm gonna go grab Lia and bring her back." Hearing that, Yinwo asked back doubtfully, "What? I told you no one has passed the stage because you can't catch her with your bare hands. Just look at the chat. If you can't catch her yourself, you just need to call someone who can." From the other side of the tavern, Etsubel's surprised voice rang out. "You want me to go find that girl, ya?" She spoke with a judgmental tone. "It's good to see you again. However, how could you possibly know that Lia and I are family?" He gave a dry laugh and lied without hesitation. "It's a rumor that everyone in this hiding area knows." At that, Etsubel could only sigh. "Fine. I understand what you mean." Only then did Zhu Yinwer sneakily approach to inquire, "Turns out they're sisters?" Kong Hanbit rolled his eyes slightly and replied, "That's right. I saw some graffiti near where Lia was standing." Seeing the subtitles exposing those words, the comments were a bit surprised. "Is there really writing there? What did he just say?" They immediately started buzzing loudly. "I didn't see any writing there at all. Does Black Dragon possess the eyes of a hawk or something like that? So that's why his sharpshooter skills are." Seeing this, he gave a serious warning. "You guys should pay closer attention to your surroundings." Having said that, Kong Hanbit flashed an incredibly seductive smile. "And from the start, if I hadn't thrown Etsubel into a dungeon, things wouldn't have gone this smoothly." Etsubel suddenly turned her head and reminded him irritably, "Aren't you going? I thought you were in a hurry to find Lia." Hearing that, he gave an awkward smile and replied, "Right." Meanwhile, Lia was happily humming a long tune. She sang while teasing the cat in front of her. Lia grabbed the cat's 2 paws and smiled craftily. "I bet by now they've probably given up a long time ago." She was still immersed in a fit of self-satisfaction. "There's no way they could ever find me in this corner." Right at that moment, Etsubel's dangerous voice also rang out from behind. Seeing who had arrived, Lia cried out in panic, "Big sister!" The young girl was in deep shock at the sight before her, unable to believe what was happening. Her eyes widened in amazement, completely lost for words. She accused Hanbit of cheating, but Hanbit replied that he only used necessary means exactly as she had said. The older sister requested to speak privately, making the girl even more fearful of what was about to happen. In just a blink, the woman began scolding her younger sister for taking other people's things. Atsubal sternly criticized that she only learns her lesson when caught red-handed. When she got played by a scammer like Julio, she grew tired of the argument and told her younger sister to return to the shop. When everything was over, Hanbit thanked Atsubal, while the younger sister bowed her head in apology. The woman handed the book to him and said that he was the first player like this. Despite her reluctance, she still gave the reward because a promise is a promise. Quest complete, he received a skill book that was one of a kind in the game. With a smile on his face, he watched the girl skip away and waved goodbye forever. His friend ran up panting, asking if the quest was done yet, and he confirmed it was finished. Holding the book in his hand, he showed off the unique reward. His teammate was utterly astonished. With a radiant smile on his face, he said that now they could learn how to fight with swords. A stream of blue light appeared. The book simply vanished from Kong Hanbit's hand. He was quite shocked by the situation, so he stood frozen there for a few seconds. A book disappears immediately after reading. I still can't get used to this style. Zhu Yinwer suddenly asked, "Hey man, the viewers are wondering, why did you decide to learn the express move?" Kong Hanbit rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Wasn't the reason already obvious enough? He began to propose a hypothesis. Imagine you and I are in a race running at equal speeds. If I activate Express, I'll be slightly faster and win, right? But the Express skill in this RP game has a super small impact. You know that. Zhu Yinwer immediately chimed in. Even if it's a unique rank, it doesn't make a big difference. However, all he received was a contemptuous glare from Kong Hanbit. Try experiencing the feeling of dying over 50 times yourself before you talk. You idiot. Zhu Yinwer drew his sword. His appearance was incredibly confident. You just said we're going to practice swordsmanship, right? In this field, I am your senior. Level 2 swordsmanship. Its rank has already reached an incredibly formidable advanced level, you know. The viewers puked in unison upon seeing that. What's senior? That's just the average level of a casual player. Unexpectedly, a single sentence from Kong Hanbit left Zhu Yinwer shocked and speechless. Is that what the viewers are commenting? While he was still fumbling with the system screen, Kong Hanbit seemed to have reached a conclusion. It seems most gamers, including top players, are following roughly the same paths. He thought about many factors. The reason must be that guidebook, right? Because rumors say there's currently nothing that supports newbies better than that. The reason why no one completed Atsubal's quest before me is simply that no one had the ability to interact with her. All because of Julio's scam. All of that led to a rather unpleasant ending. In the end, Atsubal was arrested and went completely missing. As for Lia, she naturally became an NPC that no one bothered with anymore. Of course, there are still many people who choose to play RP in their own style. The vast freedom in the game makes it impossible to know which path is the most accurate. From that, Kong Hanbit seemed to conclude, being the first person to resolve Atsubal and Rickner's quest means that the experiences I have are the clues leading to the correct path. After careful thought, Kong Hanbit made a decision. All right, then I'll conquer RP in my own way. Even so, there was still something he was conflicted about. It was unclear what the goddess was plotting, but no matter what it is, I won't accept being a pawn for that woman to pull the strings anymore. Kong Hanbit and Zhu Yinwer set off again. The surrounding scenery with lush trees looked quite pleasant. Even though he was looking forward to it, Kong Hanbit couldn't help but complain. He's the most sought-after swordsmanship instructor NPC, but the road is so far. Zhu Yinwer was also exhausted. He quickly explained, that's because his image is that of a reclusive swordsman. However, when he saw a small pavilion ahead, Zhu Yinwer's voice changed instantly. We've arrived. It's over in that direction. He enthusiastically greeted the other party. Sorry to bother you. I've come here to request to learn swordsmanship. However, that man looked at them with a cold gaze. The murderous aura surrounding him was incredibly strong. The person's gaze seemed not very friendly. Zhu Yinwer felt a bit apprehensive seeing this. He still gives off that terrifying vibe as usual. That man slowly set down his teacup. He walked over just like that. That person was the swordsmanship skill instructor character, the swordsman NPC Balder. Balder didn't offer any greetings but directly issued a task. Swing this wooden sword. Do it until I tell you to stop. Kong Hanbit followed the direction of his hand and could see the sword. Use the wooden sword lying behind your back. Balder's attitude was still incredibly cold. You came to learn the way of the sword, so we don't need to bother with long-winded explanations. A second later, he set down his own sword and grabbed a wooden sword, ready to duel Kong Hanbit. Zhu Yinwer had also done some research beforehand. This swordsmanship trial is divided into 2 stages. The first part is sword swinging practice, and the second part is a sparring match. He asked curiously, how much time did everyone take to pass this swordsmanship quest? Thus, everyone had an opportunity for a lively discussion. For me, it was about an hour and a half total. There were quite a few people who took over 2 hours. This really depends on each specific case. No one has found the exact evaluation criteria yet. One thing is for sure, you're dead if you dare talk back to Balder. I've seen that short clip too. Zhu Yinwu kept muttering to himself, unsure of what he was thinking. A clip, an imaginary film immediately appeared in his head. It's ridiculous. Someone trying to act all that while reeking of alcohol. Should I cut you vertically or horizontally? At this moment, Balder answered the opponent just as he had finished him off. Horizontal cut. Zhu Yinwu rubbed his chin and speculated. So an NPC who teaches skills also has the right to slaughter players. The viewers constantly commented animatedly. This is insane. The AI here is terrifying. The era of humanity has basically come to an end. I'm very curious to see how Black Dragon will perform. How about we open a poll to see if he finishes within 30 minutes? However, the current shortest record is 28 minutes. There's no way he can do it. Just like that, the crowd of viewers decided to go big, shocking Zhu Yinwu to the core. Sun God has registered a challenge donating 200,000 won. If it takes more than 25 minutes, go experience the feeling of jumping off Edlin Cliff. Ki Tran Nai has contributed another 20,000 won. Oh my god. The 25-minute mark is going to be tough. EXO has contributed another 70,000 won. This is truly the safest investment ever. Receiving the signal, he constantly cheered for Kong Hanbit. Hey man, the challenge reward has exceeded 800,000. Only 25 minutes, you can definitely do it. Hearing that, he was speechless and didn't want to talk. This amount is double even the archery quest. Kong Hanbit was extremely silent to focus as much as possible. He closed his eyes, ignoring the space around him. Kong Hanbit began to think of a way. The core factor in practicing wooden sword swings doesn't lie in the number of repetitions or the completion time. He had drawn experience for himself. From the start, Balder didn't expect much from the abilities of novice swordsmen. Most of the players Balder had interacted with in this virtual world carried that kind of mindset. Isn't the sword always the most basic choice? And more than anyone, Kong Hanbit understood. To Balder, witnessing players behave like that must be an incredibly great insult. Kong Hanbit picked up the sword. His gaze had now become steadfast. There was only one thing Balder truly desired, and that was a sincere and serious attitude toward the sword. He was ready to engage in combat. Balder remained incredibly calm. His gaze didn't waver in the slightest. Suddenly, Balder raised his hand to signal. He slowly made a declaration. That is enough. Everyone in the live stream room was floored. He hasn't even swung the sword once. What the hell just happened? Kong Hanbit also seemed able to breathe a sigh of relief. Success. Very quickly, a screen appeared. Linked quest activated. Your determination has touched the heart of Balder the swordsman. Balder expresses his deepest respect for your will. Defeat Balder in a direct duel. The difficulty level will be adjusted to match the player's level and stats. Zhu Yinwu quickly realized. Here it is, the second stage quest. He cried out in panic. Wait, does this also mean the quest was a total success? Now the comments were split into 2 lines of opinion. Completing it in less than a minute is truly over the limit. Doesn't count. This result must be invalidated. This way, nothing is interesting anymore. Very quickly, a notification appeared. Sword God donated 10,000 won. Double the bet? I'll win if he blocks the wooden sword twice. Otherwise, the quest is void. Kong Hanbit couldn't help but be suspicious. You're planning to double the bet right here? Are you sure? Before Zhu Yinwu could answer, another notification. Sword God donated 100,000 won. If you successfully defend 4 times and pass it, I'll reward double the current total amount. If you fail, you and Loper have to go bungee jumping in real life. He looked at Kong Hambit's back and thought to himself, must withstand 4 times to win? If my proficiency level affects the difficulty, this could be a bit problematic. Ju Yin screamed as if he were going crazy. Hey, why do I have to go jumping too? I already told you I have a fear of heights. Kong Hanbit walked over with a friendly smile and patted Ju Yin's shoulder, leaving him stunned. Ju Yin's whole body shook in waves. What is this? Why are you looking at me with those crafty, squinted, suspicious eyes? Are you actually going to do it? Kong Hanbit quickly reassured him. Just relax. You won't have to go bungee jumping, so don't worry. Ju Yin looked at the opponent doubtfully. Are you being serious? Kong Hambit's eyes were full of confidence. Trust me. Even so, it seemed the two still didn't trust each other very much. However, a notification appeared once more, making them stare in astonishment. Sword God donated another 100,000 won to the quest fund. The friendship between you two is truly remarkable. Even the viewers couldn't help but exclaim, truly a reigning tycoon. Kong Hanbit did a quick calculation in his head. 1 million won. If you add it all up, the total is already 1.8 million. Balder was still silently looking up at Kong Hanbit. Kong Hanbit gripped the sword tightly in his hand, ready for the match. Balder, on the other side, had also begun to attack. The atmosphere right then suddenly became extremely tense. Balder was the one to initiate the attack. He took a running start to dash forward. Balder's entire body was like an arrow flying toward Kong Hanbit. He gritted his teeth and thought to himself, the match has begun. Balder's sword collided with the ground, sending dirt and rocks flying everywhere. He didn't hold back at all and slashed straight toward Kong Hanbit. Ju Yin on the side was so shocked his mouth hung open. What is this? Has he always attacked this relentlessly? Kong Hanbit was also currently under extreme tension from that previous attack. However, he didn't give up and defended with all his might. Ju Yin was even more amazed seeing this. He actually held his ground. At this moment, Balder suddenly let out a breath. He withdrew his sword, a flow of energy radiating everywhere. It seemed Balder had not yet given up. Kong Hanbit frowned tightly. He didn't appear inferior to his opponent in the slightest. The distance between the two swords was now growing smaller and smaller. The sound of weapons clashing rang out crisply just like that. Kong Hanbit trembled as he thought to himself. As expected, because I'm in the game, my senses are still a bit sluggish. The reason is probably the device's synchronization rate. Suddenly, he lunged into the air. Kong Hanbit narrowly escaped danger thanks to his skills. Luckily, he had learned the dash skill beforehand. The wind began to pick up all around them, seemingly in response to their duel. Balder recognized it immediately. You seem lost in thought, don't you? His attitude was extremely arrogant. Are you trying to act cool? Or is this situation beyond your expectations? Kong Hanbit smirked and retorted. Isn't it the same for you? Balder frowned, his gaze revealing annoyance. I think I misjudged who you are. He lost his patience and lunged forward to attack. I'll end this match quickly. Kong Hanbit wasn't tense. On the contrary, he was completely at ease. We won't know the result until the very end. The two of them just dove into fighting each other like that. Kong Hanbit was nearly taken out by an arrow, making Ju Yin scream in panic. Bro, he's way too strong. Why is a basic swordsmanship skill quest this difficult? When Ju Yin saw that Kong Hanbit was still unscathed, he breathed a sigh of relief. Yes, he dodged that attack. Everyone in the live stream also had a heart-stopping moment. That's terrifying. That was a hair-raising situation. They were also enthusiastically analyzing. Black Dragon's body control is truly insane. Is this game actually this deep? Kong Hanbit observed Balder's expression and guessed. At this moment, he must be starting to feel impatient. Indeed, as he thought, the old man swung his sword forward, because he should have fallen long ago, yet he was currently fighting back better than expected. Balder seemed to have made up his mind to destroy Kong Hanbit. Unexpectedly, this time he once again anticipated Balder's intent and blocked it with his sword. Balder was utterly shocked. He couldn't believe the reality before his eyes. Kong Hanbit smirked with satisfaction. Your movements are starting to have major openings. Balder was sent staggering back a considerable distance by the force of his blow. Kong Hanbit keenly noticed the sword silently gathering power in the opponent's hand. He didn't dare lower his guard for even a second. This looks a bit dangerous. Balder leaped into the air to attack. Kong Hanbit didn't fall behind and attacked as well. It seemed their actions were simultaneous. Balder's gaze was filled with murderous intent. He had no intention of letting Kong Hanbit off. On this side, Kong Hanbit's momentum was not inferior. Both were evenly matched. The clinking sound of weapons colliding rang out piercingly. Before long, the sword showed signs of cracking. Balder, with his seasoned experience, managed to knock Kong Hanbit back along with his sword. Kong Hanbit's whole body seemed to be under strong impact, yet he wore a bizarre smile. Balder saw it and was extremely bewildered. He stood frozen in place. Even though Kong Hanbit fell to the ground, he still struck a cool pose. That makes 4 successful defenses. Kong Hanbit was completely relaxed now. The mission was a success. Everyone in the live stream room couldn't believe what the hell was happening. Kong Hanbit lay on the ground and lamented. That match was truly intense. The system notified them. Sword duel halted due to wooden sword breaking. The crowd started wildly speculating in the comments. So the challenge ends here. Then the mission must have been completed successfully. But honestly, this is still too hard to believe. What just happened was truly dramatic. This is the first time I've seen Old Man Balder lose his cool like that. Is this only his second day? Kong Hanbit, on the contrary, didn't care much. Anyway, this feeling is great. Suddenly he remembered. What about the mission reward money? Ju Yinwer immediately answered. After the live stream ends, I'll calculate it and pay you in full, buddy. Kong Hanbit looked at him suspiciously. Are you really going to transfer it to me? Ju Yinwer confirmed firmly again. Of course, buddy. Suddenly he asked, Hey, we first met in the military, right? Kong Hanbit's face showed no emotion. That's right. So what? Unexpectedly, the next second Ju Yinwer placed a hand on his shoulder. He asked excitedly, What kind of work did you do before enlisting, buddy? Kong Hanbit didn't answer but thought to himself. Is he asking about the 55 regressions, soul possessions, or reincarnations? Is he talking about stuff like that? Kong Hanbit hurriedly avoided the question. I just did some odd jobs. Ju Yinwer revealed. The chat channel is currently listing a bunch of guesses about your profession.
Chef, assassin, mercenary gunman.
Special forces. Or maybe a samurai. Doesn't that sound ridiculous? Suddenly someone asked, Will all the reward money from this challenge go to Black Dragon? Ju Yinwer confirmed immediately. Of course. Kong Hanbit scratched his head, feeling confused. Aren't we supposed to split the profit 50-50? Why do I get it all? Ju Yinwer was incredibly generous. It's fine. You passed those challenges entirely through real physical skill. Kong Hanbit looked at the screen and gave a cold reply. Thanks for saying that, but at least it's a relief that you don't have to dance. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone in the live stream mocked him. Do you really think he'd dare to jump down? Seriously. Kong Hanbit was stunned, still not understanding. Isn't that right? At this moment, the familiar notification popped up again. Sword God donated 100,000 won. Keep using the sword more so I can observe and learn. Ju Yinwer was moved to tears. Oh my God, Master Sword God. Thank you again for this huge donation. I will practice more diligently with the sword. On this side, Kong Hanbit noticed something. It turned out Balder had been standing alone by the tree this whole time. Kong Hanbit looked at him and guessed. That old guy looks pretty angry. Even though he was silent, it was clear he was trying to suppress his rage. Kong Hanbit looked at Balder and thought. He must be blaming himself for letting a rookie like me read through all his moves. At this moment, he walked over and asked, The duel is over, right, sir? Although reluctant, Balder had to confirm. That's right. Just wait here. Kong Hanbit stood there silently watching Balder walk away. He was clenching his teeth to keep from showing his true feelings. Whoever comes after me is definitely going to bear this anger. He then handed me a book. Take this. Kong Hanbit took it politely and examined it carefully. Magic, archery, dash, and now swordsmanship. This is the 4th one, right? Not long after, a notification appeared. Quest complete based on Baldur's evaluation. Rewards have been upgraded to the maximum level. Received 3,000 gold and the unique grade basic swordsmanship training book level 1. At this moment, another message appeared. Apprentice swordsman donated 10,001. Please teach me more about swordsmanship. Immediately, everyone started begging. I want to be taught too. Me too. Me as well. Kong Hanbit didn't have the energy to worry about this, so he dragged Zhu Yinwer in as a shield. You handle the fan interaction stuff? I still have things to take care of. He received the order and quickly got to work. Thanks everyone. I think Bin can also teach you guys a little bit. Actually, I've reached level 2 swordsmanship myself. Kong Hanbit chased after Baldur and called him back. Hey Baldur, he asked again. There must be something left, right? However, Baldur just stood there silently, saying nothing. After a while, he took something out of his pocket. I heard my master moved to the Edlin region. If you meet him, show him this. At the very least, he'll be willing to listen to what you have to say. My master is currently in a place where the winds converge. Kong Hanbit took the item, starting to ponder Baldur's words. A place where the winds converge? After finishing up, Kong Hanbit went back and called Zhu Yinwer. All right, let's head back to the city. What on earth are you doing? He answered very confidently, interacting to thank the audience. Just then, another message popped up. I see Car donated 1,001, currently being tortured by Baldur. Had to work overtime today. Time passed just like that. I don't know how long after, Zhu Yinwer asked curiously. Is the next destination Baldur's master? Kong Hanbit was too tired, so he said dejectedly, let's stop here for today. Zhu Yinwer was incredibly surprised. What? He stood up and stretched a few times to loosen his body. I have to go to work tomorrow. If I don't get some sleep, I'll be in big trouble. See you tomorrow. Zhu Yinwer didn't force him. That's true. We've been active for a long time today. See you tomorrow, buddy. As soon as you're off work, you have to log back on immediately. Got it. But Kong Hanbit replied recklessly. I can't promise that. Kong Hanbit logged out of the game just like that. It's way too hot. His whole body was drenched now, sweating like he'd just stepped out of a bath. I need to shower and go to bed immediately. Was it because I was too focused on the swordsmanship quest? Since I didn't actually move at all in reality. However, right at this moment, the phone rang. It turned out to be a text message. Buddy, you did a great job today. I'll transfer the money right away. I'm gonna sleep like a log now. Looking at the transferred amount, Kong Hanbit mused. You could have just saved it up and sent it all at once. But when he looked closer, he couldn't help but be shocked. Kong Hanbit just stared at the phone, stunned for a few seconds. His hand couldn't stop trembling. What is this? Are the total donations from yesterday and today really this high? Kong Hanbit started calculating. The actual playing time was only about 10 hours. Is it possible that I don't need to work anymore and still be fine? No way. I worked so hard to return to this reality I've always longed for. If I have any intention of returning to that path, it would be a huge mistake. So Kong Hanbit told himself, I'm really sorry to the viewers, but just consider this live stream as a hobby. Kong Hanbit guiltily thought of Zhu Yinwer. I'm a bit worried about him. He helped me quite a bit. Buddy, I just transferred 3,000,001. You're still going to continue live streaming, right? Kong Hanbit tried to convince himself. No, just snap out of it. Surely donations won't always be this plentiful. Mom will definitely be more at ease if I have a stable job. But thinking it over, Kong Hanbit smiled happily. But sometimes showing filial piety like this is truly good. I don't know how long later. Kong Hanbit woke up to a hurried calling. Kong Hanbit. At this moment, Kong Hanbit was still bewildered, not fully awake. Mom, why are you calling me so early? Xian scolded him angrily. Early? The sun is already blazing high. She pointed furiously at the phone screen. More importantly, where did this money come from? Kong Hanbit opened his eyes and looked first. He looked at the number, not knowing how to answer. That is, Xian hit Kong Hanbit a few more times. What on earth did you do all night long? You aren't doing anything shady behind my back, are you? Kong Hanbit said indignantly. No way. I earned this money legitimately. Let me explain before you hit me. Xian was still skeptical. Legitimately? Legitimate how? She glanced at Kong Hanbit. The only way to get a large amount of money this fast is gambling. He heard that and felt helpless. I told you it's not like that. Honestly, Kong Hanbit started explaining from start to finish. I told you about Ju Yinwer before, right? And I said he gave me a gift to ask me to play games with him. We live-streamed that game together. Because people's reactions were better than expected, I just earned a little bit of money. Kong Hanbit affirmed again. You are the one who understands best. I'm not the type of person who does illegal things. Sion sighed. Oh, leave it until I get home from work. Then we'll talk more. Hurry up and get ready for work. Kong Hanbit wouldn't give up, continuously saying, Mom, I'm telling the truth. Sion's voice softened noticeably. Who said I didn't believe you? I'm just worried that you're overworking yourself. Kong Hanbit heard that and was so moved he went stiff. A long while later, he thought to himself, Mom, don't worry too much. Okay? From now on, you won't have to carry this debt alone anymore. Kong Hanbit promised himself. I will work hard so Mom can live the most comfortable and peaceful life. Kong Hanbit squinted and pondered. I had to fight for my life. Having gone through 55 regressions, soul possessions, and reincarnations in another world. Now the weight of reality doesn't even come close compared to that horrific period. He clenched his fist, thinking cautiously. I used to think like that, but Sung Min rested his chin on his hand and scolded. An intern daring to daydream when just starting work. Do you think that's acceptable? He leaned back against the chair, reminding him, pull yourself together. This is a professional office environment. Kong Hanbit shouted inside. Being scolded by the old boss for no reason early in the morning. Truly annoying. He recalled the time Lee Miho gave him the stack of papers. Just stepped foot into the office. Senior Lee Miho gave me a stack of papers, then went to do field research. Kong Hanbit stared, focusing on every line of text inside it. The content was a bit complex but arranged very scientifically, so I didn't have much difficulty grasping it. Afterward, he turned around, intending to leave. Just as I was about to get to work, the team leader suddenly called me back. At this moment, Kong Hanbit stood silently in front of Sung Min. He called me a trial version and started making things difficult with tasks unrelated to my expertise. He clicked his tongue then threw a card on the table, ordering, go downstairs, buy some coffees, and bring them up here. Kong Hanbit asked confusedly, Team leader, which type of coffee would you like? Sung Min's eyebrows narrowed, appearing unhappy. He glared at Kong Hanbit and scolded. We only drink iced Americano here. Did Lee Miho teach you nothing? He was startled, answering in panic. No, sir. It's just that I forgot for a moment. Afterward, Kong Hanbit trudged away. He intends to use Lee Miho to bully me if I show any weakness. Even though it was just running errands, my steps felt incredibly heavy. Sometime later, I returned and saw Sung Min scolding Lee Miho. When I bought the coffee and came back to my seat, I saw Lee Miho being scolded terribly by the team leader. His eyes were lifeless as he listened. It was like this was a daily occurrence. He just stood listening to the boss's nonsense with dead eyes. Lee Miho's face completely vacant. He slowly spoke up, expressing his weary state. With my current workload, I'm afraid I can't take on any more tasks. Sung Min gripped the documents in his hand and shouted furiously, Lee Miho, have you grown some feathers now? Daring to pick and choose your work. He threw them straight into Lee Miho's face, snapping, if I tell you to do it, just get it done. You damn idiot. Seeing the situation, Kong Hanbit set the coffee cup down hard on the table. Team leader, here is your coffee. Following that, he knelt down to pick up each sheet of paper from the floor. Sung Min grabbed the coffee cup and shot a cold glare at Kong Hanbit, the team leader eyeing me sharply, as if he'd understood the ulterior motive behind my actions. He reproached in a low voice, You bunch are truly unbelievable. After returning to the office, Lee Miho leaned back in his chair in misery, and after we finished organizing the documents, we returned to our workstations, though Lee Miho's mood seemed deeply troubled. Kong Hanbit observed his expression as it was reflected in the computer screen, noting that his eyes looked emptier than ever. Afterward, Lee Miho offered a sincere apology. I'm sorry, Kong Hanbit. I let you see an ugly scene again. Kong Hanbit scratched his head and gave an awkward smile in response. It's fine. It's nothing. The team leader probably just isn't in a good mood today. He didn't just apologize for that, though. He turned around and slowly began to share. The new project the old team leader assigned to me is in the development sector. As you can see, Lee Miho glanced at the stack of documents and continued. However, it's going to consume a lot of time. I'm afraid that from now on, I won't be able to mentor you as thoroughly anymore. Such a passion, truly. That's why I feel so bad for you. Only then did Kong Hanbit calmly ask back. When you dropped that pile of documents earlier, I caught a glimpse of them by accident. Does that new project have something to do with the RP game? He rested both hands on the table and revealed without hiding anything. That's right. It's a project for the equipment industry. But since that machinery system is very complex, I'm forced to experience the game directly for a long time. Lee Miho's face was full of seriousness as he tapped his chest and said regarding the matter, I think I can be of use to you. The sunset sky gradually shifted into shades of purple and pink. He left the car, stepping down onto the ground. Kong Hanbit stood silently in place, staring intently at his phone screen. Ju Yinwoo waved and called out to him, Hey man, I'm over here. Kong Hanbit's face stiffened at his sudden appearance. Ju Yinwoo approached him with a radiant smile and asked, Did your work go well today? A dark circle was clearly visible under his eyes. Kong Hanbit raised an eyebrow and pointed at Ju Yinwoo's face, commenting, You look like you've lost your soul. Did you not sleep at all? He replied enthusiastically, I got a full 3 hours. Come on, let's go inside and talk more. A coffee shop signboard appeared. Kong Hanbit let out a tired sigh. He leaned back in his chair and complained, This office life is truly torture. Ju Yinwoo saw Kong Hanbit's state and asked, Is it that bad? He replied gloomily, I honestly want to spend an entire live stream just cursing out that team leader. Then Kong Hanbit slumped onto the table and wondered, So, what exactly did you want to talk to me about anyway? Ju Yinwoo held his phone screen straight out for him to see. Look at this. Check it out, he shared excitedly. These are the messages that have been sent since our live stream yesterday. So many different companies have been trying to contact us. Ju Yinwoo turned the phone back toward himself and added, There's even a huge conglomerate like iHo Gaming. They're offering a starting salary of 100 million. Kong Hanbit was so surprised he was speechless. 100 million? He held up his index finger and shared awkwardly. Companies are currently fighting over you. Which side are you going to choose? In my opinion, this place is the best. Ju Yinwoo saw Kong Hanbit's scrutinizing expression and became flustered. Man, what's wrong? Why does your face look so tense? Did something happen at the company? He pushed off the table with both hands to stand up and called him out. Stop hiding it and just tell me. Kong Hanbit spoke in a serious tone. I'll know the moment you lie. He backed away slightly and justified himself. I'm not hiding anything. Kong Hanbit's face was full of murderous intent as he questioned. Do you actually want me to join a big corporation? Ju Yinwoo broke into a cold sweat and stammered. Hey man. Big brother. I didn't mean anything bad by it. He replied. I know that. Then Kong Hanbit used both hands to mess up Ju Yinwoo's hair. However, don't hide your true feelings like that. He raised an eyebrow and yelled out. That hurts, oh my god. Ju Yinwoo's shrill scream echoed throughout the coffee shop. He slumped his head dejectedly and reproached in a low voice. That was seriously too much. Ju Yinwoo sobbed as he bared his heart. I know you're having financial difficulties, so I just wanted you to have a better job. I also know you wouldn't like it if I kept helping you like that. Isn't a starting salary of 100 million an incredibly attractive offer? Kong Hanbit waved his hand and responded. I appreciate your feelings, and obviously that 100 million salary is amazing to me. But you were the one who invited me to play RP in the first place. Ju Yinwoo listened thoughtfully to his words. I think I need to listen to what your desires are first. Ju Yinwoo shared sincerely. It's true that RP is a huge hit right now, but honestly, it doesn't really suit me that well. He recalled the moment he leaned his hands on his knees in exhaustion. Pursuing adventure and total freedom sounds romantic and cool, but when I actually start playing, it's much harder than I thought and I haven't made much progress. Honestly, I prefer being a viewer. Ju Yinwoo fixed his eyes on Kong Hanbit's relaxed silhouette. To someone like me, you are. He put his hands on his hips and looked into the distance. The brightest star in this RP world. Strings of memories flashed through Ju Yin's head like a film. All those fresh and exciting moments when I got to play with you. I want to be immersed in it, and I want to share that feeling with everyone. He smiled gently and affirmed with sincerity. So, I want to build an MCN around you. Kong Hanbit smiled softly as he watched Ju Yinwa share his thoughts. Instead of a stiff company, it would be like a guild combining real life and the game. He rested his chin on his hand and replied, "Oh, isn't that what you mentioned back when we were in the military?" Ju Yinwa immediately denied it. "No way. Do you remember what I said while we were training?" Kong Hanbit asked back in confusion. "What does that matter? So how exactly do you plan to make money?" He scrolled through his phone and stated, "A function to upload videos to Big Corner. The platform we're streaming on was just updated. The advertising revenue is actually bigger than I thought." Ju Yinwa stopped at a post about Kong Hanbit and continued, "And right now, you're the most talked about user on Nekara. What's more, they're placing our videos in the most prominent spots. After witnessing your skills, people will start diving into the RP world, and more people will want to join us on that journey." Ju Yinwa asked with a radiant glow, "What do you think about us expanding our broadcast scale?" He broke into a cold sweat and hesitantly raised a concern. "Didn't you promise to help me get a job at a big corporation?" Ju Yinwa imagined himself and Kong Hanbit standing on a stage and said, "Oh, by the way, you aren't an employee. Let's be co-COS. There will be times when you need to go on air directly, so I'll support you as much as possible." Kong Hanbit let out a long breath and requested, "Kosio? Just say whatever. I'll help you." Ju Yinwa grinned with his eyes closed and thanked him. "Thanks, man. I'll definitely develop this well." His face took on a thoughtful look, his eyes lowering. "Of course, the reason I joined RP was because of Yinwa, but this is also the final chance for me to reach Erfurt. If I complete the game and find Erfurt, will I finally understand at the end?" Kong Hanbit's eyebrows furrowed tightly as he wondered angrily. Why did I have to lose my life over and over again in that way? Suddenly, a phone ringtone caught both his and Ju Yinwa's attention. He immediately picked it up to check the info. Ju Yinwa held a plate of food and shared excitedly, "I just received a whole bunch of new messages again." Ju Yinwa ate while keeping his eyes glued to the phone, as expected of a celebrity's life. "Wait, what?" He suddenly jumped and exclaimed, "Wait, what the hell is going on? What is all of this? I have to make a quick phone call. Hold on a sec." Ju Yinwa hurriedly called someone, muttering, "Please pick up." He looked at the phone screen anxiously and yelled, "Why aren't you picking up right now?" Kong Hanbit saw Ju Yinwa's loss of control and asked, "What's happening?" He suddenly mentioned the archer. "Do you still remember that Vanguard team we met?" Kong Hanbit remembered quickly, crossing his arms as he replied, "Ah, the one with the golden bow, right?" Ju Yinwa raised an eyebrow and explained, "They're the vanguard force of a German company called Returnee." Then he let out a heavy sigh and leaned back in his chair, adding, "There's news that the quest reward rankings will decrease based on who gets there first. Returnee has declared they're going to monopolize this quest. Aside from the exploding slimes, for some reason, other types of slimes aren't appearing anymore." Ju Yinwa gave the news to Kong Hanbit. "Rumors are spreading that you and I colluded beforehand." He stiffened, his face showing clear bewilderment. "What kind of nonsense is that?" On the other side, someone irritably raised a fist. "This is so annoying. Those Returnee bastards. Black Dragon. Loper. You guys are scammers." He screamed in outrage. "There's no one left in this world to trust." The female friend beside him put her hands on her hips and complained about the noise. "Be quiet for a second, will you?" She took out a book with a green gem set in the middle and stated, "At least I was lucky enough to get a rare item. If I had been any later, I wouldn't even have a normal item to hold." The red-haired guy expressed his fury again. "How can quest rewards be calculated on a first-come, first-served basis? This is so unfair." She didn't even bother looking at him as she replied, "If you used your brain a little, you'd see it's quite obvious. They'd never just give away unique rank items for free. You idiot." Then she suddenly turned around and explained, "That's why I told you that you had to go fast to get it. I don't know what trick Rizuhen played, but even the exploding slimes aren't showing up anymore. Taemin pointed his index finger at Lia and asked back, "So what? I didn't know things would turn out like this." She threatened in a serious tone. "If you dare bother me again, I'll PK you. Anyway, that black dragon guy will have to perform a rescue today. Once he sees Rizuhen's notification, he'll find a way to resolve it himself." At the coffee shop, Kang Hanbit frowned and voiced a question. "Just how big is that Rizuhen corporation?" Ju Yinwer imagined the archer in his head and answered, "A company's value is judged by the number of powerful players they possess. That archer guy has 9,000 combat power. Though a bit weak among the high-tier experts, he's still considered a ranker." He maintained a calm appearance, crossing his arms and stating, "There's still one option to solve this problem." Kang Hanbit reached out to grab the handle of his coffee cup and suggested, "Yinwer, let's start today's stream a little bit later. I have a few things I need to verify." Then he calmly took a sip of water. Nightfall engulfed the entire skyscraper. Kang Hanbit opened a book, flipping through the pages quickly. He quickly stopped to observe a single page. Kang Hanbit's lips curled into a mischievous smile. He exclaimed excitedly, his eyes still glued to the page, "Found it!" Kang Hanbit stepped forward into another world. "Well then, time to go check it out." He walked step by step toward the cave. The location of this cave is exactly as I remember it. Kang Hanbit froze in front of an exploding slime, muttering, "The exploding slimes are gathering in this cave, exactly as predicted. Must be careful, really careful not to let them explode." Then he went straight deep into the cave. Suddenly, Kang Hanbit stopped and looked into the distance. He slightly raised his head and thought to himself, "There's only one reason why the exploding slimes would gather in such large numbers at one point." Kang Hanbit turned to the side and exclaimed, "There it is!" A massive king exploding slime came into his view. King exploding slime, level 7. Kang Hanbit observed them carefully and assessed. This king exploding slime has the characteristic of attracting and absorbing normal individuals to grow its body size. However, the amount of individuals it attracts at once shouldn't be this high. There must be another reason. Suddenly, Kang Hanbit noticed a shimmering streak of light. He stared at it intently, muttering, "Isn't that a monster luring device?" Kang Hanbit approached the monster luring device and continued, "The name Rizuhen is clearly engraved on it." He began to imagine its function. The monster luring machine is a one-time use item that can be found in the northern region dungeons. Kang Hanbit thought about the king exploding slime again. Rizuhen placed the luring device right in this cave, the king exploding slime's habitat. And the combination of the monster's characteristics and the machine's efficiency created this mess. He vaguely realized, no wonder there's nothing else here except the exploding slimes. Kang Hanbit raised his hand to cast fire magic. Fireball! He swung the spell toward the king exploding slime. In a moment, it was engulfed by Kang Hanbit's flames. The king exploding slime shattered and burst under the pressure of the magic, quickly vanished into thin air. A moment later, the system board displayed a series of lines. System. Experience points received. 7,720. System. You have leveled up 4 times. System. Received 4 potential points. Title Enemy of Exploding Slimes has been added. Enemy of Exploding Slimes. Damage dealt to slime-type monsters increased by 5%. System. You have completed the elimination of an elite monster. Additional potential point rewarded. Title SS Rank Recorder. Activated greatly increases skill proficiency. Kang Hanbit gaped in awe as if he couldn't believe his eyes. Wow! Look at how much has accumulated here. A web page displayed information. The clip posted on the forum was becoming the center of everyone's attention. A series of questions were raised. Members are requested to strictly comply with the community rules. Where on earth did all those exploding slimes disappear to? Kang Hanbit had captured images of the king exploding slime and the monster luring device. Honestly, I was the one who filmed that scene in the cave. Then Ju Yinwer helped me post it under an anonymous identity. The internet is now flooded with criticism aimed at Rizuhen. Of course, I proactively cut out the part where I wiped out the exploding slimes. And it's no surprise the comment section is full of insults directed at Rizuhen. Kang Hanbit read intently. Zentromber is the NPC character I found in the guidebook. He suddenly thought of Zentromber searching in the cave. He was the miner who personally dug the cave where the king exploding slime resided. Zentromber was devastated when all his effort in digging the cave was taken over by the king exploding slime. My hypothesis about the slimes disappearing is related to the pack leader, and confirming Zentromber's existence helped me find its lair easily. There is a strange point. Even though Zentromber's name is in the guidebook, there isn't a single scrap of news about that cave at all. Even for a guidebook, it doesn't necessarily have to reveal every secret. However, the key lies in the scope of knowledge possessed by Adventurer A. A massive amount of information was recorded, yet their accuracy is very vague, with some parts even deviating from the truth. His eyebrows furrowed slightly, lost in thought. It feels like a gear has been intentionally left outside. Kong Hanbit walked forward step by step. Adventurer A, what exactly is your true identity? Zhu Yanwer held his index finger high and stated that proficiency is the reason everyone avoids learning magic. His whole body was filled with gloom as he gritted his teeth and said, proficiency must reach a high level to cast skills. However, the difficulty of increasing magic proficiency is truly horrific. Zhu Yanwer shared with an awkward smile. Because it's something normal people can hardly endure, most give up. There are also many people waiting for mages to get buffed more. Then they'll switch to a different, easier skill branch. Then he directed his eyes straight at Kong Hanbit and continued. But as for you, he narrowed his eyes, helpless before Zhu Yanwer's words. Does it make any sense to reach 100% proficiency in just one day? He dashed over and lightly punched Kong Hanbit. This must be a lie, like an overdue April Fool's joke, right? Please tell me this isn't real, he argued back flustered. Anyway, it's only Tier 1 magic, the lowest level. Zhu Yanwer leaned in close to Kong Hanbit's face and suggested, learning any spell takes a whole month. Hurry up and open the status window for me. He gaped at Zhu Yanwer's actions. Why does this guy always have to overreact like this? He stubbornly demanded. Show me the evidence. Kong Hanbit, feeling helpless, reluctantly agreed to Zhu Yanwer's request. Here, look, I told you it was true. He looked completely drained, his legs giving out beneath him as he slumped to the ground. Zhu Yanwer still couldn't accept the reality of the situation, tears streaming down his face as he muttered, is this a game bug? It has to be a glitch. This can't possibly be happening. Kong Hanbit shrugged, turning to leave, and called back over his shoulder. Well, it happened exactly like that, he replied like a hollow shell. I really didn't want to see you this happy about it. Kong Hanbit suddenly warned him. Don't go mentioning the proficiency level on the live stream yet. We still have to deal with those villains. Then, Kong Hanbit curled his lips into a smile and greeted everyone. Hey everyone. Loper is live. The badge pinned to his shirt caught his eye. Kong Hanbit looked behind him and said, you better explain everything clearly. A flash of realization struck Zhu Yanwer. He remembered the moment they were chatting happily during the live stream. You've acquired the subscriber badge. Zhu Yanwer clasped his hands together and spoke earnestly. Everyone, please calm down. We need a little time to verify the facts. Let me be clear. We have no connection to Rizuhen whatsoever. We'll provide proof soon, so please be patient. He told the story of Kong Hanbit and the Black Dragon. He said he had some business to take care of before going to find Baldur's Master. So let's all keep watching. The protagonist narrowed his eyes, pointing out a problem. Did Liao run away again? Atsubal responded nonchalantly. Yes, that's exactly right. She crossed her arms helplessly and shared. The kid really doesn't listen to a single piece of advice I give. Kong Hanbit rested his chin in his hand, answering with a radiant smile. Give her a break. Kids her age are just like that. She'll be back soon. Atsubal fell silent, merely curling the corners of her mouth. Then she whispered a gentle word of thanks. I hope so. Thank you very much, Black Dragon. That was when Baldur asked, what brings you by today? Kong Hanbit scratched his head and admitted, ha! I was hoping to learn the next magic spell. She immediately smirked in agreement. Learning the next spell? Huh? Well, obviously you can. She pushed a book toward Kong Hanbit and said, take this. This is the second spellbook for you. The system panel displayed a new mission. Mission? Learn the second magic skill from its Subal goal. Use its Subal spellbook. Reward: 10,000 gold. Second tier fireball. Epic. 3 stat points. 3,000 experience points. Kong Hanbit slowly picked up the book, staring off into the distance. A crowd of people standing outside the door waiting to gossip caught his eye. Right, the crowd is very curious. Kong Hanbit opened the page in the book. He seriously absorbed the knowledge within it. A moment later, the notification panel displayed, "System notification. Mission officially completed. Thanks to completing it first, the reward grade was upgraded from Epic to Unique. The gold reward increased from 10,000 to 20,000. Stat points received increased from 3 to 6. Experience points skyrocketed from 3,000 to 7,000. Your level has increased by 2. You have been granted 2 additional stat points." Zhu Yinwu eagerly announced, "Look at that, everyone. Black Dragon has leveled up and learned Fireball." Itsubal fixed her eyes on Kong Hanbit and warned, "If you run into any trouble, try finding the Magic Research Lab in Edlin City. You'll definitely find a way out there." He turned around and made a promise. "Many thanks. I'll be back later." Then Kong Hanbit casually walked away. He opened the wooden door to find a crowd of people waiting. Zhu Yinwu covered his mouth in confusion. "Ugh. This looks scary." The archer shot a sharp glare at Kong Hanbit. He and Zhu Yinwu calmly walked forward. Kong Hanbit passed him and teased, "Hey guys, you look so fierce. Why don't you relax your brows a bit? Did something terrible happen to you?" He said without holding back, "I hope everything goes smoothly this time, but I'm also curious how it'll end." Itsubal's shop became increasingly noisy. "Hey Itsubal, hand over that spellbook." "Sister, I want a spellbook too." "Me too. Give me one." People were standing noisily in front of her shop waiting. "Those people from Rizuhen are truly cruel and unreasonable." Kong Hanbit sat on the ground, grinning as he remarked, "I totally agree. They're really just insatiably greedy." Zhu Yinwu turned to him, worried, and asked, "But let's put that aside. What exactly did you want to show us? If things keep going like this, Rizuhen is going to hog all the benefits." Kong Hanbit calmly asked back, "Yinwu, what do you think is the difference between them and me?" The archer held the book up in front of everyone and commanded, "I'll count to 3, and we'll all open it at the same time." Kong Hanbit stood up as he counted. 1. He put his hands on his hips, filled with anticipation. Everything is starting now. Kong Hanbit looked toward the shop door. 2. Everyone raised their books at the same time when the archer counted the final number. 3. Then they all simultaneously opened their pages. The archer glanced grimly at each word in the book. Right at that moment, Kong Hanbit mouthed, "Showtime." Each book in the hands of the archer's group burst into flames. The fire started. "What the hell is going on?" The bald guy screamed in frustration. "My spellbook!" The brown-haired girl watched helplessly as her book was being incinerated. "This fire can't even be put out." Itsubal crossed her arms, trying to suppress her anger at the chaos in front of her. "I don't know what the hell is going on. No, help me." A moment later, she angrily barked an order. "Everyone get out of here right now." The archer's group cried out helplessly, "We're done for." "Damn it." Kong Hanbit clasped his hands together gleefully. "They're about to be roasted to a crisp. What a waste." Zhu Yinwu pointed at the shop and asked, "So this is what you were talking about?" The gray-robed guy checked the system panel and reported, "The mission rewards have changed." The screen displayed the mission requirements. Mission: learn the second magic skill from its Subal goal. Use its Subal spellbook. Reward: 5,000 gold. Second tier fireball. Epic. Receive 1 stat point. 1,000 experience points. The archer asked coldly, "How many people have completed this mission successfully?" The guy next to him hesitated. "Well, actually, not a single person." A gloomy aura radiated from his entire body. Zhu Yinwu jumped when he saw the archer approaching them. "They're aggressively coming our way." Kong Hanbit remained unbothered, watching the archer. He glared at Kong Hanbit and demanded loudly, "Hey, you rookie, we need to have a little talk." A hooded ranker from the vanguard group recklessly stepped forward, aggressively demanding to speak with Hanbit. Hanbit turned around, smirked slightly, and asked him directly what he was thinking. The other guy got straight to the point. Why was only Hanbit successful? Hanbit just shrugged, telling the veterans to figure it out for themselves. The ranker was red with rage, but the audience in the stream chat began trolling his reaction. He grumbled that the 50 best people in the group had failed, and now they had completely lost the chance to get the hero class reward. The ranker continued to complain, blaming Hanbit because now others couldn't even attempt the mission anymore. Hanbit found the situation hilarious, while Yunwoo anxiously tried to keep things peaceful. The stream audience was extremely enjoying Hanbit's attitude, nodding that the ranker was just digging a deeper hole for himself. His face twisted in anger, clearly losing control. Hanbit threw out a truth. Have you guys tried pushing your proficiency to the max yet? He pointed out that proficiency is the core foundation for ranking up in this game. The ranker looked blank, as if he had never heard such common sense. Hanbit explained calmly, you have to master basic skills like Fireball before you can learn higher level ones. The other guy started shouting, saying everyone knew that, but Hanbit still didn't deserve the reward. Hanbit casually replied that he had pushed his proficiency to the max before completing the mission. The ranker was stunned, completely speechless. Not believing him, Hanbit actively opened his stat panel for the whole stream to see. He admitted he was starting to doubt whether these so-called top players were actually any good, since they were missing something so basic. Hanbit displayed all his skills on the screen, each one marked with a glowing gold star. The chat exploded, with half the audience crying hack, because maxing skills in just one day sounded like a fairy tale. The ranker went crazy, threatening to report him, but Hanbit didn't flinch at all. He even gently mocked the opponent's childish provocation, saying it was the ranker himself who had something to hide. The stream was enjoying every second of this roast, extremely thrilled at the sight of the ranker being put in a tough spot. He ground his teeth in frustration, finally stomping off with a final threat. Hanbit added, try playing honestly for once. The tavern door burst open with a loud bang. The ranker roared orders for his underlings to get back to work, while some of the company's minions were forcing the shop owner to hand over the reward. Hanbit remembered this shop owner clearly, an extremely strict master who had zero tolerance for greed or shortcuts. She wanted her students to quietly hone their skills and earn certifications based on their own merit. A flashback appeared. She had once scolded a young Hanbit, reminding him that magic was math. She had witnessed too many people get into danger because they rushed into things they weren't ready for. She clearly declared, no new spells until his foundation was absolutely perfect. Hanbit admitted that back then, his impatience and greed got him kicked out of class. Turns out Itsubel's strict personality and principles hadn't changed at all, even as an in-game AI. Back in the present, Hanbit and Yunwoo were walking down the road. Yunwoo thought Hanbit might have been a bit harsh on the Vanguard group earlier. He worried they would be heavily criticized by anti-fans because that company had a huge fan base. Hanbit just laughed out loud, gave a thumbs up and said, I'm not the one fighting anyway. The stream chat officially declared the Rash group enemy number 1 for this season. Hanbit teased Yunwoo, reminding him that his stream channel was the one that would take the heat. Donations poured in constantly as viewers celebrated the beautiful ending of the confrontation. Yunwoo was highly excited, laughing and thanking everyone for the donations. While walking toward the village, Hanbit suggested stopping by a local shop first. Yunwoo looked confused. Hanbit just said there were a few things to prepare before meeting Master Balder. The town square was packed, with everyone whispering about a big event near the clock tower. Yunwoo spotted the crowd and pointed it out to Hanbit, but Hanbit was completely clueless. Yunwoo realized Hanbit really didn't have a clue, so he started explaining. Hanbit observed the crowd, waiting to see what was happening. Yunwoo pointed to a girl in a green cloak that was Rafina, a high-rank elemental mage. The chat exploded with excitement. Today they got to see two famous rankers in person. Rafina exuded a true superstar vibe, and her fans in the chat went almost wild over her appearance and aura. Hanbit just stood there observing with a fairly calm expression compared to the excited crowd. He was curious about how many elemental mages there were, because being chosen by spirits was rare. Viewers were arguing about how hard it was to even meet a spirit, let alone control them. To Hanbit, the concept of spirits in this world seemed somewhat different from what he remembered. He briefly recalled his first moment of bonding with a spirit, a memory still etched deep in his mind. Hanbit stared at his wrist for a moment, lost in thought. When he came to, he asked Yunwoo just how strong this Rafina girl really was. Yunwoo replied that she was a vanguard in the top 4,000, specializing in water magic. Hanbit was slightly surprised because he thought she was a pure elemental mage. Yunwoo explained that her title of elemental mage was mostly honorary, as her spirit skills had been stuck at level 3 for quite a while. The chat nodded in confirmation that spirit skills were rare but often too weak to be a main playstyle. Even so, Rafina was still a master with level 6 magic, and she was about to perform for everyone. Yunwoo asked Hanbit if he was interested in spirits, but Hanbit was only focused on how they worked. When Rafina started praying, Hanbit knew for sure that spirits operated on an entirely different level than normal magic. Blue light began to swirl around her as she focused her energy to manifest them. Tiny spirits appeared in the middle of the square, floating and delighting the crowd with their mystical glow. Hanbit asked if her success was really just due to talent as everyone rumored. Yunwoo nodded in confirmation. She had mastered both water and wind spirits in just 6 months, a speed that had never been seen before. A water spirit meandered gracefully in the air, next to a green wind spirit that zipped by with incredible speed. This was a rare dual attribute manifestation, with 2 spirits holding hands and flying around Rafina. The light was blinding, and the chat was basically bowing down to the divine view. Viewers were praying, craving to own a spirit of their own. Even Yunwoo was overwhelmed, while Hanbit admitted this was an extremely eye-catching performance that drew in the public. When the spirits began to fade back into the void, the performance ended. Hanbit asked how long she had been stuck at level 3. Yunwoo replied about 10 months, because she couldn't accumulate enough proficiency. When Rafina waved to her fans and left, Hanbit realized her real problem wasn't proficiency. The chat was still begging her not to go, completely captivated by the performance just now. Yunwoo wondered if she was the #1 elemental mage, although he also said that the truly high-ranking vanguards were usually very tight-lipped about their info. In a game like this, information was a powerful weapon for competition. Rafina disappeared behind the village gate, leaving the crowd still craving more. Hanbit watched her go, a brief feeling of empathy for someone who had also bonded with spirits. But there was no time for deep reflection. Hanbit was ready to go to the store to prepare for the next big mission. He smiled mysteriously, put a finger to his lips, and told Yunwoo, "Just wait and see. You'll know what I'm preparing when we get there." Yunwoo had started to worry. He had just spent a large sum of money on equipment without fully understanding its use, and now the two were standing in the middle of a desolate place. Hanbit stopped and looked back with a sly smile. This was the place they needed to be. Yunwoo looked ahead and gasped. He definitely didn't sign up for this. They were standing on the edge of a vertical cliff, known as the Gathering Place of Winds. To Hanbit, this was the entrance, but to Yunwoo, it looked like a one-way trip straight to the underworld. A new mission board appeared on the screen. Search for the wind swordsman hiding in the forest. Success could bring a chance to learn a legendary ultimate technique. Hanbit nonchalantly suggested they just jump down. Yunwoo stared at the empty space, convinced that Hanbit had finally lost his mind. Jumping down without a safety rope wasn't an adventure, it was suicide. He tried to back away, begging his companion to find any other way down. Hanbit didn't say a word. He just gave Yunwoo a sly look, clearly signaling trouble was brewing. A heavy hand rested on Yinwoo's shoulder. Now there was no way to escape. Yinwoo began to panic. He reminded Hanbit that even in a game, the sensation of pain was very real, and this fall would definitely hurt. Hanbit didn't wait for him to finish his sentence. He jumped down, dragging along Yinwoo, who was screaming piteously right at the edge of the abyss. The two of them plummeted through the air. Yinwoo was panicking to the point of losing his mind, while Hanbit looked like he was taking a leisurely stroll. The stream chat was nearly going insane. They had never seen a streamer use a companion as a live bungee cord before. The fall seemed to last forever. Even the audience began to doubt whether this cliff actually had a bottom. Hanbit spotted the target area. A massive glowing blue magic circle was shining at the bottom of the canyon. They had reached the hidden entrance. The portal vibrated with powerful energy as they touched the trigger point. Hanbit landed perfectly as if it were nothing. Yinwoo slammed face first into the ground, taking 1 point of damage from the impact. Hanbit checked to see if his companion was still in one piece. Yinwu only groaned, barely able to believe he was still alive. He admitted that he truly thought he was a goner. Hanbit just gave a slight shake of his head as if it were nothing. Quest complete. News spread across the stream that over 300 players who tried to follow them had fallen to their deaths. They didn't realize there was another important condition. Hanbit revealed the secret. It was the entry ticket. You couldn't jump down blindly without the proper quest item. Yinwu pointed toward the top of the canyon. Hanbit smiled at the camera, promising a bigger reveal as more people fell into his trap. The audience called him a devil, yet they still couldn't stop watching. Hanbit's strategy was both cold and effective. Deep inside the Crystal Canyon, a solitary figure sat atop a distant mountain peak. That was their target. Yinwu recognized him as the Wind Swordsman. He thought the hardest part was over and they just needed to walk to the destination. He was suddenly filled with energy, eager to complete the quest quickly. Hanbit stopped him and suggested that Yinwu go first. He said it was to get a good camera angle for the stream so Yinwu could receive the glory. Yinwu was truly moved. He thought Hanbit was finally treating him like a real companion. Hanbit gently pushed him toward the path. He had suddenly become very enthusiastic about helping. Yinwu rushed forward, waving to the audience and feeling like the star of the show. Suddenly, a spear shot out from the cliffside, grazing right past him. Yinwu stood frozen, his face as white as a sheet. He had almost lost his head to a hidden blade. The stream chat burst out laughing. They realized Hanbit didn't care about the camera angle. He was just using Yinwu to scout for trap locations. Yinwu barked out, accusing him of being a devious person. Hanbit just shrugged. Well, you didn't die, so it's fine. The stream split into 2 camps. One side pitted Yinwu, the other admired Hanbit's ruthless efficiency. Hanbit didn't wait for the next trap to trigger. He pulled out his bow and prepared to clear the path himself. He aimed with absolute focus. He knew the exact location of every hidden mechanism. An arrow flew right past Yinwu's ear, neutralizing another trap before it could fire. Hanbit wasn't guessing. He had memorized this entire trap maze. Yinwu was now truly terrified. He stared at the spot where the trap had just gone off, wondering if Hanbit actually cared whether he lived or died. Before he could finish a sentence, several more arrows hissed from every direction. Yinwu nearly failed to dodge. This place was literally a death maze. Hanbit didn't flinch. He shouted for them to keep moving. He calmly said he had fired those arrows beforehand because of a gut feeling that there were more traps. Yinwu trembled in his boots, wondering how many more gut feelings Hanbit had. Suddenly, the ground began to shake. Yinwu felt the vibrations and knew something big was coming. A giant boulder fell from the canyon ceiling, completely blocking the path ahead. Yinwu screamed at the top of his lungs. The canyon walls were too narrow. There was nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. Hanbit just smirked and said, "No need to dodge. I've got this." He pointed his hand toward the falling boulder and shouted, "Fire burst." The rock exploded into fragments in a massive blast. Yinwu was stunned by the fact that Hanbit had just blown away a boulder falling from the mountain. The stream chat called this madness. They couldn't believe the power and control Hanbit was displaying. Hanbit gave the camera a sharp smile. He knew exactly how impressive he looked right now. He kept up the pace, telling Yinwu not to fall behind. Yinwu tried to keep up, begging his companion to wait for him. They were dashing through a rain of arrows. Hanbit didn't even slow down. He moved with almost superhuman precision, blocking and dodging amidst the chaos. Every approaching arrow was easily parried by him. Yinwu checked his supplies and panicked. They were completely out of arrows. Hanbit wasn't worried at all. He reached for his sword, ready to switch tactics. He told Yinwu to stay alert and watch his back, while he would clear the way with a cold blade. Yinwu took on the role of commentator, excitedly telling the stream how Hanbit was using his sword to block arrows. However, the chat had already started to get bored with his commentary. They could see the exit now. Yinwu cheered that they were about to clear the trap maze. More traps triggered, with flying blades and rotating axes, but Hanbit's sword became a blur of blue light as he parried every single strike. Suddenly, Hanbit shouted for Yinwu to stop immediately. Only a moment later, a spear lunged up from the ground right where Yinwu was about to step. Yinwu trembled, realizing he had just barely escaped being impaled. Hanbit only told him to stay alert until they were truly out of this place. Yinwu was now genuinely curious. He asked how Hanbit could know the exact timing and position to dodge. The chat was joking that Hanbit had cat-like vision, but the truth was darker. He didn't just know. It was muscle memory. Another boulder fell and Yinwu panicked again. Hanbit destroyed it with another fire burst without missing a beat. He let out a sigh of relief. They had finally reached the end of the trap-filled corridor. Yinwu was exhausted, asking how much further they had to go. Hanbit stopped and simply said, "We're here." Hanbit looked up toward a towering crystal mountain peak. Yinwu was still skeptical, but he followed Hanbit's gaze. High above, sitting on the edge of a rock, was the white-haired wind swordsman. Yinwu was suddenly filled with hope. He thought they had succeeded and it was time to receive the reward. But the master didn't even look at them. She only uttered two cold words, "Go back." The stream chat erupted in laughter at the sudden rejection. After all that effort, they were being told to turn around. Yinwu looked like he was about to cry. He asked Hanbit if they really did all of that just to be chased away as soon as they arrived. On this side, Yinwu hadn't even had time to understand what Hanbit wanted to do, when the protagonist asked him to just sit down with him for a moment. After that, Hanbit turned his eyes forward and continued, "It seems you've already passed the prepared trials, haven't you?" The silhouette of the female swordsman remained silent, saying nothing. Seeing that, Hanbit wasn't angry, because he knew also was extremely wary of strangers. Just a slight misstep in approaching would get you kicked out immediately. "I've tried every way to win also over, but nothing worked. Around the 10th regression, I once possessed Alsa's body. Possession gradually transfers all the host's memories and experiences to oneself. Thanks to that, I mastered hundreds of types of traps and finally found a way to get on her good side." While thinking, he tossed a bottle of liquor near the female swordsman's position. Alsa glanced back slightly to observe for a moment, but quickly lost interest. "Is that liquor? Take it away. I've quit drinking." In response to those words, Hanbit gently replied, "Then please roll it back here for me." Alsa fell silent once again. Looking at that, the protagonist spoke up to tease her, "You're really not drinking?" Alsa frowned slightly. "I've already made myself clear." To her rebuttal, Hanbit only slightly observed a few liquor bottles nearby, then thought to himself, "At least hide it better. Don't tell me you've already had a glass." He continued to toss out another bottle of liquor and enticed her. "Won't anyone have a taste? I guarantee this is a flavor you've never tasted before." On this side, Alsa still seemed to have no interest. "I've tasted every kind of liquor in this world. How could a greenhorn like you satisfy my palate?" The protagonist didn't give up, continuing to speak persuasively. "I'm just saying at least try it once. If you don't like it, we'll leave." Only then did the female swordsman accept his offer. "If this doesn't satisfy me, you'd better pack your bags and get out of here." As she spoke, she gave a slight wave of her hand. The liquor bottle immediately flew into her hand with ease. Without a moment's hesitation, the alcohol-loving woman began to taste it immediately. With just one sip, her eyes snapped open. Then immediately, she pulled the remaining liquor bottle to her hand and continued to enjoy the flavor of this bottle. Meanwhile, Yinwu finally understood Hanbit's earlier actions. "Brother, so this is why you kept buying random things at that shop?" The protagonist gave a devious smile. "Exactly. I told you you'd find out eventually." Ahead, Alsa had finished one bottle and turned back to ask, "Is there more?" A moment later, there were countless liquor bottles around her. Yinwu couldn't help but be impressed. "Brother, she drank the whole lot." Hanbit replied, "Leave it. She's always been like that." After finishing, Alsa wiped her mouth slightly and returned to her noble demeanor. "This liquor is quite all right," Hanbit said. "I'm glad you like it." Deep down, he felt a bit lucky. She drank this much and is still stone-cold sober. Truly some things never change. Good thing I prepared plenty. Yinwu turned over, asking curiously, "How did you know how to mix liquor like that?" Hanbit broke into a sweat, making an excuse. I used to work part-time at a bar. He couldn't say this was a secret recipe from a tribe at the edge of the continent that he had learned in his 7th regression. Setting this aside, Hanbit went straight to the main point. Now can we talk properly? There was a piece of fabric from Baldur's outfit on the liquor bottle. Elsa narrowed her eyes at him. What did Baldur say? Hanbit replied that it was nothing special. Then, the female swordsman unwrapped the cloth from the liquor bottle. After observing for a bit, she tossed it back to the protagonist and chased him away. Leave. I have nothing to help you with. Hanbit remained calm as if nothing was wrong. Actually, there is a way, but you don't think anyone is capable of it. Do I have that right? Elsa turned back, praising, You're quite perceptive. To these words, Hanbit naturally understood. The Wind Sword Master had no shortage of disciples, but no one had been able to materialize her sword yet. Even Baldur, the most promising one, had eventually failed. She simply withdrew from the world and vanished without a trace. She continued, The qualifications to practice my swordsmanship are not simple. Someone who only knows how to swing a sword well is meaningless. Hanbit asked, You mean compatibility with spirits, right? Elsa nodded silently. Turns out you didn't come here completely uninformed. The protagonist looked at his hand and silently calculated. Talent is indeed important, but what I've learned after every regression is that spirits aren't something to be controlled by talent. You must communicate slowly and build intimacy with them over time, and to connect with spirits as soon as possible. Meeting Elsa is a must. Unaware of the thoughts in his heart, the female swordsman gently blew a green breeze toward the main character and spoke. I've heard from the spirits how you passed the trials. Flexible footwork, sharp thinking. I've even heard your swordsmanship is excellent, but that's all you have. Now go back. She dismissed the guests once more, making his friend Yinwer shrivel up. Brother, is this going to be okay? Is today's live stream going to be a total bust? Hanbit also scratched his cheek with difficulty. I knew this wouldn't be easy at all. Suddenly, a system notification appeared. System quest complete.
Linked quest unlocked, hidden quest.
You must persuade Elsa and learn her skills. First, you must make her change her mind. Conditions demonstrate swordsmanship skills persuasively. Attempt to persuade her with words. Find some way to befriend her. Rewards 10,000 gold. Elsa's secret manual, 10 potential points, 10,000 experience points. Seeing this notification screen, Yinwer went crazy. Brother, this is insane. Everyone, it's a hidden quest. Hanbit was also a bit surprised by the way it appeared. He immediately aimed for condition 3, finding a way to befriend the spirit. Elsa's skills are important, but what I truly want is this, because it opens the path to connecting with spirits. Beside him, Yinwer was both surprised and said, Did you just choose option 3? That seems like the hardest choice ever. You know what? Never mind. I give up on trying to predict anything. He spoke with a face as if his soul had left his body. As for Hanbit, he didn't hesitate to tease him. You weren't trying in the first place. Right then, Hanbit seemed to feel a breeze touching him. He immediately closed his eyes to slowly sense this breeze. Then, without knowing what Hanbit had muttered, the system issued a notification. System title unlocked. New effect of the scribe, 55 regressions. All accumulated experience of the scribe is now unsealed. Proficiency of all experience skills will increase at an extremely rapid rate. Performance is enhanced in proportion to the depth of experience. All spirit intimacy stats activated. Spirit power effectiveness significantly increased. Item keywords locked. Seeing this, Hanbit clenched his fist in excitement. That's how it should be. Spirits don't just approach people on a whim. No matter how hard you try to get close to them, you never really know how much is enough. How did they even get these spirits into this game? The way to communicate with them is still the same as before. In the end, there's only one way to find out. Hanbit raised his hand high, touching the breeze that was constantly swirling in the air. The system issued a notification. System, Wind Spirit Sylph is feeling incredibly curious about you. After this notification, it seemed like a translucent hand was reaching out toward his, which left Hanbit feeling a bit startled. Even though he couldn't see it, Hanbit could still feel it clearly. He clenched his fingers, smiled, and said in a confident tone, I just need to prove that I'm compatible with the spirits, right? Hearing the question, Elsa still replied in a cold voice, it's not as simple as you think. Saying that was one thing, but right after, her expression shifted just a little. At this moment, Hanbit was reaching his hand forward. His eyes widened, clearly sensing something familiar. All right, this is exactly the feeling. The translucent hand of the wind spirit, Sylph, reached out toward him. For a split second, Hanbit couldn't hide his look of astonishment. Next, a flow of green light began to swirl around Hanbit. Yunwoo exclaimed in surprise, what is this? The system issued a notification. System, Wind Spirit Sylph has responded to your summoning. Sylph smiled, finding everything truly interesting. Elsa's eyes were half closed, as if she were paying attention to everything. Hanbit himself also spoke up to greet this spirit. Sylph was amazed at Hanbit's compatibility and wanted to stay by his side. She let out a soft, amused laugh, then transformed into a green orb, flying right in front of him. Finally, when it reached a certain point, the light transformed into a cute little bird. Immediately after, the system screen popped up. System, the title Friend of Spirits, has been added to your list. The effectiveness of all spirit-related skills is increased by 20%. Witnessing this, Yunwoo couldn't contain his excitement. Meanwhile, Hanbit turned to ask the swordswoman, will you teach me swordsmanship now? At this point, Elsa had no reason to refuse anymore. If that is the spirit's will, then I have no other choice. From this moment on, you are my disciple. She said this while taking out a book and tossing it to Hanbit. The system issued a notification. System, confirmed hidden quest, persuade Elsa, completed. You have received 100,000 gold. You have received Elsa's secret manual, still warm to the touch. You have received 10 stat points. You have received 10,000 experience points. Your level has increased by 1. You have received 1 additional stat point. Ignoring these notifications, Hanbit took the opportunity to flip the book open to see. The system issued another notification. System, do you want to use the secret manual? If used, basic swordsmanship will be deleted. Quick steps will be deleted. You will receive wind footwork, Tier 1, Epic, and wind sword art, Tier 2, Epic. Hanbit naturally chose to accept and use the skill, causing the book to disappear right before his eyes. Yunwoo was startled. The system issued a notification. The skills have been deleted. Hanbit was also a bit surprised. So the existing skills have really been deleted. On the side, Yunwoo gripped Hanbit's shoulders and shook him. This is just plain crazy. As if to admire the performance of both of them, the sword gods donated 200,000 won to them. Yunwoo smiled brightly. Thank you so much for the 200,000 won donation. Next, the blonde guy urged Hanbit. Hurry up and use the skill. Hanbit was also curious, so he wanted to start with wind footwork first. He turned to whisper to the spirit. It all depends on you. The discomfort from his gear had decreased significantly. This is on a completely different level. I wonder what the swordsmanship side will be like. Thinking this, his sword was also covered in a layer of green mana, as if preparing to use the skill. Hanbit asked Yunwoo to back off. Hearing that, Yunwoo moved as fast as a flash to hide behind Elsa, which even surprised the master. Oh, you're quite agile, aren't you? Ignoring the two of them, Hanbit closed his eyes tightly, raised his sword above his head, and slowly gathered energy. When he opened his eyes again, he quickly swung his sword to strike forward. A sharp wave of sword energy immediately sliced through the rocks in front of him. Its power left Hanbit impressed. As expected, this is on a completely different realm compared to normal swordsmanship. Behind him, Yunwoo's eyes widened like saucers in surprise. Bro, was that an active skill just now? That power has to be at least Tier 4. Since it's spiritual energy, it doesn't consume mana, right? Hanbit smiled, explaining the drawback. The skill isn't exactly limitless. Outside of places overflowing with spiritual energy like this, you need a lot of preparation. This place itself is already a domain. Yunwoo pouted at the answer. Bro, even just that much is already way too overpowered. On the side, the master chimed in. You adapt quickly. There is one final thing I must say. There is an evil source of energy lurking in Edlin. That thing can harm the spirits. Now that you are traveling with a spirit, you must be careful. Yes, understood. We will be careful. Hanbit nodded. Meanwhile, Alsa turned back and sat on the original rock. Another swordsman from another world donated 10,000 won with a question. Wait, there's not even a hint? Hanbit stroked his chin, smiling cunningly. A hint? This is a skill, so I'm considering what to do with it. It's hard to choose. The viewers started feeling extremely annoyed, and they kept asking questions. What about ours? It's the end of the year. Our credit limits are limited too. Please, I'm begging you. Seeing this, Yunwoo was overflowing with joy because of the massive donation amount. As for Hanbit, he licked his lips, intending to drag this out a bit longer. Right at that moment, a viewer named Avantgarde suddenly donated 1 million won with a message. Hello Black Dragon. I'm streamer Avantgarde. Do you have time to talk with me for a moment? Looking at the name, Yunwoo covered his mouth in surprise. Oh, is that the real Avantgarde? It didn't stop there. Powerbridge Company also donated 2 million won and made an offer. Hello? I'm Kim Joo-ho from the PR department of Powerbridge. We would like to inquire about purchasing the information for this hidden skill. After reading the offer, Hanbit and Yunwoo's eyes nearly popped out of their heads. Following that was a series of massive, overwhelming donations, making Yunwoo feel like they were rich now. However, Hanbit remained extremely calm. He wanted to leave this place temporarily first and then decide later. At the same time, outside, the people from the Rashten Guild had been jumping off the cliff continuously to search for Master Alsa. They even hired temporary workers to jump off the cliff. A player who spotted Hanbit's figure whispered to his accomplice, "Hey, that Black Dragon guy and his group just walked out there. Want to follow them? They don't. Isn't there any way to dig up the real-life information of Black Dragon and Loper?" "What the hell are you talking about? That's illegal." Regarding their reaction, Hanbit smiled smugly. That reaction is truly crazy. There are two reasons why I'm revealing the entire process of obtaining this skill on the livestream. One is to attract viewers and make money, and the second is to set a premise for solo streaming later on. Or perhaps to see if my path can generate profit. Once you start trading information, acting freely will become increasingly difficult. Thinking this, he announced to the viewers, "Since so many people are interested, I will make the information about this hidden skill public to everyone. As for official matters, please send them through our channel owner Loper. Any offers or suggestions you have, please send them to him. He will consider them depending on the content. We will consider them with an open mind. I will post all the hidden skill information on the message board after today's live stream." Regarding Hanbit's announcement, Yunwoo was a bit worried. "Bro, if you reveal everything, will someone find a way to monopolize it somewhere else?" To this, Hanbit gently teased the spirit Sylph and affirmed, "That won't happen, right Sylph?"